When the stakes are at their highest and one result is all that matters, the mountain comes calling. It's the final round of the season for SimRigs V8 Veterans Championship. This is Split 1, and this is the championship decider at Mount Panorama Circuit. 300 action-packed, high-tension kilometers of racing ahead of us, where any mistake could be the end, but glory awaits at the finish line. We can't wait to bring it to you all live here on SimSpeed TV. I'm David Haynes with Jake Sperry and Daniel Yeaman as our greatest over 40 drivers on iRacing are ready to tear up the greatest racetrack in the world.
It is the greatest racing circuit out there in Australia, and it sets itself out apart from any other circuit out there through its history, its legacy, and its inability to go out there and change. This was a season that started off with a crazy race at Mount Panorama. Luke Ullman picking up the win, but the Walker and Ross show came into play. Wayne Walker's been dominant on the winning column. Jordan Ross has started to find a way back. After a horrible Sandown at Adelaide, he's found a way to wrest control. The big laps are going to be important, though, to note. 49 of them today, so we're doing effectively not quite your Bathurst 1000, but about 0.3% of your Bathurst 1000.
Yes, the Bathurst 30%, but it's going to feel like a big one. We had multiple safety cars in the season opener, and we come back to the scene of the crime with 2 trips to Mount Panorama this season. A Aussie-heavy season. We've been to every Australian track that iRacing offers, with Mount Panorama, The Bend, Winton, Phillip Island, The Bend again, Oran Park, Sandown, Adelaide Street Circuit, and then our favourite, our grand final, Mount Panorama. So it is all out there with a championship battle to be decided between Wayne Walker, the favourite, and Jordan Ross, who can be incredibly quick in his day. Neither of them can afford to have a bad one or a DNF, because that would be the championship gone.
You're absolutely right. You cannot have a bad day at the office. And here is the championship standings, 40 points to the good. Wayne Walker stands ahead of Jordan Ross. Kenneth Latter and Paul Young, both at 118 points adrift. Phil Manuel, the biggest mover up the field of 7, the biggest shaker, Jason Bentz, who was a non-starter, down 12. But you've got drivers in and around that top 10 that are looking to score points. Michael Stewart through consistency, Dean Logsdale moving up. You've got the likes of Luke Ullman, who's had probably his breakout season here, David. There are many drivers who have stood out in season 28.
Yeah, and you look at Ken Latter and Paul Young tied up there for 3rd place in the points. It's basically whoever finishes first on the road is likely to win, and those 2 guys are great mates. They chat a lot, they practice together, so that could be one to watch. You're best friends until it's the final race of the season, and there's some bragging rights to be had. We'll keep an eye on that one across tonight's big proceedings. So this is the championship picture. Wayne Walker, he leads. So long as he finishes this race in that top 19th spots, it's probably going to go his way. Jordan Ross needs to outscore Wayne Walker, and by a big margin. For Ken Latter or Paul Young to factor into this, it needs to be a not only bad day, but almost a terrible day for both Wayne Walker and Jordan Ross. We'll keep an eye on all of that, but it's sort of Walker's to lose, but he's got to make sure he brings it to the finish line and in a good spot.
Well, I can confirm we have less than 40 drivers here in this race. So Kenneth Latter and Paul Young, their shots of championship glory rely in bonus point territory out there, because we've got 4 race control cars in a field of 40 out there. So that's 36 cars maximum. So a lot of bonuses are going to be needed to go and pull that all together. So it's going to be about what Wayne Walker does, and he hasn't had a finish over the course of this championship run, really, David, outside of the top 3. So you're asking for a catastrophe out there. I think the only bad round he's had was exactly the round that he had at the season opener where he got caught out by the safety car late. I think it's going to have to be something very similar here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Both drivers know what they need to do to win here at Mount Panorama Circuit, and we'll take a look at the track. If you don't know it, if you need a refresher, or if this is just the sort of stuff that makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck, it's the best 6.2 kilometers of racetrack we could ever hope for. It's got two characters to it. It's of two minds. Long straights with the pit straight, mountain straight, and Conrod straight. Then challenging, unforgiving across the top of the mountain between the concrete walls. Here it is in the town of Bathurst, running between the town and up and over the mountain, Mount Panorama, that gives it its name, that gives it its challenge and its views and its vistas. I've been racing here for a very long time, and if we invented Bathurst this year, it'd be a great racetrack. But with everything behind it, everything that it means to these drivers, everyone's grown up fantasizing about this place, wanting to win here, wanting to emulate the greats. And that's why, not just for the championship, but for what this place means, everyone wants to win today.
They do. When you say I won at the mountain, it carries weight and history behind it. A circuit that opened in 1938 on the 17th of March, of the run up to the Griffin's Bend, the cutting, and then over through the three parks, Reed, Solomon, McPhillamy, and over Peter Brock Skyline, and then down the S's, the Dipper, and to the Forest Elbow. The fastest corner in Australian sim racing, turn 20, leads to the chase, the only ever addition to this circuit. And finally, Murray's Corner, that ends off the lap off the city of Bathurst. And it is one of these true places that, as an Australian racing fan, David, it is the eternal pilgrimage that is done twice a year.
Yeah, I can see my campsite at Reed and Sulman from here. And there is so much camping, spectator spots around the circuit, but then also people's private houses that now go for a couple of dollars. So this is the history of Mount Panorama, not just in the world, but in SimRigs V8 Vets. Of course, we come here a lot. And in Gen 3, these modern cars, we've been here 4 times before. The winners have been Jordan Ross, Sean McNamara, Wayne Walker, and Luke Allman. Absolutely 4 drivers who would love to have a number 2 next to their win tally.
They do, and they are all here today looking to try and put their round together. Now, we note that an average lap speed is 176 kilometers an hour, roughly a 207 in the dry. It is expected to be dry here today. There is no threat of rain on the horizon, but what there will be is the sense of the speed that they are going. It's not often that you get a production car, David, hit 290 kilometers an hour on the straights.
It's 300 with GST. So, yeah, absolutely. So much speed. And because of that, we've got to run the tall gear stacks. It puts a lot of space between the individual gears, and you just got to drive these cars differently when the gear ratios are different. We saw that at Winton versus here, complete opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, and those two differences, I think, are going to be really, really important. So we'll keep an eye out on those as the racing progresses. And actually, as well, something that we will need to talk about over the course of this one, the differences between what we saw at the start of the season and what we see now.
The big difference between the season opener and tonight is about 150 kilometers. This will be a big one, 49 laps, giving us just over that 300 Ks. And it might be critical for drivers like Wayne Walker that to be a classified finisher, they've got to reach 75% of the race distance, and that is lap 37. Could be a really critical point in this race as it pertains to the championship. To that end, everyone starts with 80 litres of fuel on board. It's going to necessitate that the first pit stop comes a little bit earlier than in other conditions, but you can fill the car to the brim from that point if you want. 133 litre fuel cell in these cars. Fuel burn is significant with the size of the lap, the elevation change, and the long straights. So it means that across the 2 compulsory pit stops, at least 150 litres is going to have to go in, pending fuel saving, weather, safety cars, whatever it may be. And with that 133 litre fuel tank, the earliest you could conceivably make your 2 stops is about lap 21 to 22, but that still leaves you a massive run on your tyres home from there. And this is a circuit where passes can happen.
There are, and there's a lot of places where we can see those overtakes happen. Of course, you've got the 2 big mountain, well, 2 big straights, the mountain straight and then the Conrod straight as places where you can get it done. But there are places where you can be brave making moves at Bathurst, and I wouldn't be shocked if we get a field that jumbles up a little bit in the middle of the race to see some of those more aggressive style moves be chucked out and offered here compared to everybody else. I think we're going to be in for a real treat here of 49 laps worth of running. We're about a minute and a half away from the starting grid finding itself into position. And critically, this qualifying was must make out there, as you can see that on your screen right now.
Absolutely. So it's the championship protagonists on the front row. Jordan Ross has the pole position. Wayne Walker for this retro round has a gorgeous shell helix throwback on the number 217. But on the front row is exactly where he'll want to be. Ross will have to outscore him big time by more than just 1 spot to wrestle that championship lead away. There's Sean McNamara, Holden dealer team, Brock style tribute there in 3rd place. Better Electrical for Dan Hall, and that's a good qualifying for him. He'd know a thing about Better Electricals as well. With all the Logitech G gear that he's hawking, they are some of the better electricals that you can get. Brian Borg is 5th on the grid. Scott Mackay 6th. Another gorgeous livery up and down the field, paying tribute to what this place, this venue means to Australian racing fans. Paul Young is 7th on the grid. And then Luke Allman is 8th. He'll have his fingers crossed that this is his lucky place this season. 9th on the grid, Christian Smart, and that's 10th for Mark Poynton.
Which means over in row 6, you've got Phil Manuel for Frog Leap Juice. What a lovely livery that is, with Tim Nicol alongside for company for Quantum. You see on row 7, Chad Lewis and Alex Kiddis then looking to try and make their pushes up through the order. Dean Logsdale and Damien Cairns, they'll be going from 15th and 16th spots, with Troy Stonestreet a little bit down the order in 17th. Chris Burridge made a few friends in the M1 Racing 042. He goes from 18th, those friends being made in practice. Brad Doble then and Logan Barnett, an Aussie and a Kiwi, making up your top 20.
Greg Sharp is 21st on the grid, but always looking sharp is Dean Flavel. Every round is retro round for him, and he's wheeled out another gorgeous livery on his car to start from 22nd. Ricky Hyde in 23rd spot. Justin McLean with the Volvo Mustang in 24th position. Gorgeous, gorgeous looking car. Damon Fisher there in 25th. Got Brenton O'Brien in 26th on the grid. 27th, Ken Latter is much deeper in the field than Paul Young is, but something to watch for sure. Ron Allen is 28th on the starting grid. Matthew Stoyles in 29th, and winner chicken dinner for Brett Horsell, 30th on the grid. I'm hungry.
Well, we'll get through over to food soon, with Shane Randell there in 31st and Matt Brunt 32nd. That's the end of those who have set a time. So those who haven't, Michael Stewart, David Nash, they are going to be those two who haven't yet put a time together on the board. Neither has Jeff Thomas, and neither has Sean Vondermeulen, who will go from 36th position on the grid on a standing start. A quick look then we will need to go with about a minute before the start here, David, to the easiest point in sim racing, the zoom wall, which is out there overall. Just hook your camera up and roughly get any piece of your body shown. All you need is the top of Luke Allman's head and you can get a point.
Yeah, Luke Allman, Michael Stewart looking spectacular there on the Zoom wall. Tim Nicol joins us. He's also got a great retro livery this week. Justin McLean delivering the pedal cam. Sean McNamara starting third on the grid. Luce Limber ready to go. Ken Latter as well. We said a little deeper in the field. Sean van der Meulen there. He is alongside Paul Young and the championship leader starting from second on the grid. Wayne Walker, Christian Smart, locked and loaded. Greg Sharp and Dean Logsdale. 12 drivers on camera, but far more than that. 36 on the grid, ready to go.
They know what they've got to do here today, so we are expecting them to go about 17 laps maximum out there on their starting fuel, so they can't just fuel it up and get to the end. So you could see pit stops as early as about lap 5, potentially, in terms of where that first stop could land you to get you full run in to the finish then as far as this one set. So keep an eye out on that for that first stop, that second stop that comes through. There are the yellows out there ready, because we are about to get this final season race underway and say championship on the line. Ross versus Walker starts now. Slow start from the third row from Brian Borg. He bogs down horribly off of the start. David Nash with a jump start, and Ross immediately challenged by Wayne Walker up into Hell's Corner. But the drive along the mountain straight now becomes critical here to set yourself up into motion. McNamara sat there shadowing in that third position. Trouble in the back of the field then. Big issues between McLean and Ricky Hyde then, as they've had a bit of a squabble up between each other. Up the front though, 1, 2, 3, 4 as you were.
Jordan Ross just claiming the inside at turn number 2. Didn't get a great getaway from the standing start, but he's placed his car all the right spots to keep Wayne Walker behind. And even with some slightly slower getaways deeper in the field, that means they've all lined up single file on the exit of the cutting. Mackay and Paul Young, 5th and 6th, grabbing those spots away from Brian Borg after his poor getaway. He's still rolling in 7th. That top 10 completed by Allman, Poynton and Smart.
Yep, so they're all starting to turn around at each other and say, right, let's settle down, let's get what we need here. And it's ultimately been a case of front of the field has a gap here, and it's a case of the rest of the field has to try and follow and give chase. One car started from pit lane. That was Sean van der Meulen, who did not take to the grid. So he's had to go the hard way and say, right, from the back of the field, we are going to have to launch. But they crest down to the Forest Elbow now for the first time, and on to Conrad and Jordan Ross, who was 4/10 quicker than anybody in the qualifying session, will be looking to now try and build his gap. It's all he can do right now is build a gap and hope that his teammate Sean McNamara starts trying to chase down and finds a way to get this one close. So look here, what a beautiful static cam that is.
Biggest number I can see, 294 kilometers an hour, but it's a massive stop to just underneath 100 to make it through the chase. It's a really, really massive braking zone. A lot of downshifts there. Likewise, into the final corner. After that run down Mount Conrad Straight, Walker, McNamara all a little bit closer to the race leader, Jordan Ross. Some of the big gainers on the opening lap. Ken Latter is up 7. He's getting just a little bit closer to a maybe 3rd place in the championship. He's in and amongst this group that's led by Troy Stonestreet in 14th. That's the train.
He wants a way through, he wants to keep jumping up, and he has to just keep clawing in the early stages. Position on position on position. Nash diving in then to serve his drive-through penalty, but Kenny's going to have a look here at Damien Cairns, and he's not even going to be given an argument about it. Cairns just lifts off of the throttle and lets him have the spot in front. Chris Burridge in a bit of a scrap with Alex Kiddes from the old mates and sons, and then Logan Barnett just behind as they look to climb up into the cutting.
That's an electric Cairns opener.
It could be. I'll give you it.
It was made very, very easy, and then Cairns gives him a flash of the headlight. So I don't know what the story is there, but he's expecting Ken Latter to continue to rocket up through these standings. He's going to reach towards the back of Logan Barnett, who I think is also a driver to watch coming through the field potentially from a little bit deeper. Got some really strong teammates from Synergy Sim Racing in this one too. Michael Stewart also picking up a couple of spots, as has Jeff Thomas.
And now let's look at the way they have to descend down the hill. This big dipper left is so difficult here. The biggest drop that you've got on the circuit. You've just got to make sure that the car hooks up through this section, and this will be one of the circuits where the most amount of preparation has been done over the years. Oh, that's close there. Very close there on the wall on the outside of the Forest Elbow. You graze against that too often here, David. Your race can be written.
And Burridge getting the grass, so getting a terrible exit on the exit of Forest Elbow as he just ran into the dirty stuff. So it looks like Barnett goes the right-hand side of him. Ken Latta dives deep on the brakes to try to make it 3 wide. After that mistake and poor run down the straight, Burridge is trying to settle in, but he might lose 2 spots here.
Well, I would say settled is the last thing he is as he forces the side-by-side, and there's contact there. Burridge into the side of Kenneth Latta, who works the long way around to go and get that position and says, thank you very much. I'll have that one into turn 1 Hell's Corner. So he'll be very pleased about the fact that he's got that pass sorted. Chris Burridge then losing out then again. And this is what happens in the opening laps of Mount Panorama. You step out of line here at Bathurst, David. You are welcomed very swiftly to the freight train.
Yeah, everyone's got a plan, and it's to try to run clean, but maybe run a long opening stint here to get closer to the middle of the race before you make those stops. A few drivers might get their first stop out of the way a little on the earlier side, but in this longer 300-kilometre to compulsory pit stop race, you're far less likely to get caught the wrong side of pitting with a safety car, because that run home on a set of tyres is so long from the critical lap number, and the critical lap number is 140 kilometres into the race after the starting point. That's Paul Young's perspective. It looks even scarier on his camera than it does from ours.
I would be absolutely terrified in a triple screens rig like that one, trying to chuck it in, because you're feeling very much like you're in a car of your own, and actually any hit that you do have down the hill is going to hurt out there. And I think I would actually duck and wince if I found myself with a little bit of contact. I think that the real world would take over for me. But Paul Young here in this 6th spot had a really good Adelaide race out there, and I think he's eyeing this up. Scott Mackay just in front. Dan Hall having a very, very good qualifying day for the first time in a while there in 4th spot, which I think is more akin to the pace that he's got, and he is looking to prove what he is about as he charges along here towards Murray's Corner here, and lap 4 of the race already looking like it's about to start itself off here.
7,200 RPM in 6th gear, giving 295 k's an hour. That is some good gearing. There's still a little bit of a headway there. He was in the toe, so we're not banging the limiter, even with a good run and a good slipstream down Conrod Straight. Positive to see. There's room for a little bit more speed as well later on, but the field begins to fracture slightly. Ross, Walker and McNamara getting away. Dan Hall from that great qualifying position up in 4th, not quite able to go with them, but still displaying a consistency of pace that you want in this opening stint. So then he's got Mackay, Young and Borg a little closer behind him. And you find another 1 second gap to Luke Allman in 8th. And there's some big hitters in that pack: Poynton, Smart, Phil Manuel, Chad Lewis, Dean Logsdale and Troy Stonestreet to 14th spot. Ken Latta's charge up the field has found one more position, but he's sort of found it a bit tougher sledding since those opening lap where he made 7.
Yeah, so the opening laps, I think, have been really important here for Luke Allman. He was all the way down in 15th position when he started the season, got the break of the safety car. He's qualified a lot better here today, P8, and I think he's been given the confidence, well, I won last time, so I can do it again. Kenneth Latta again making moves. He's through Chris Burridge. He's up to 18th spot. He's eyeing Logan Barnett now, wanting to get to that 17th position. Now, setup's important. That's very wide there from Logan Barnett. Almost grazes the wall, and that is going to be a comfortable pass then for Kenneth Latta, and he's got a little bit of that yellow helmet syndrome going about right now. Everyone's jumping out the way of him.
Oh, it's the advantage of not running a retro livery. Everyone looks in the mirror and goes, oh, it's Ken Latta, not, wait, who's running the Stone Brothers Ford Credit GRM throwback? Commentator's worst nightmare to have that for championship finale, but I love it. Got some good ones here. Dino Dino's done SP tools, but in his own way.
Very much has done. Dean Clavel has been Mr. Retro Livery the entire time, and so now he's looking to try and get that Mustang singing here into this fifth lap of the race. So he's going to be looking around thinking, okay, what can I get here for my money out there? The answer at the moment is -1 for the day so far. I'd say he's lost out on the exchange rate.
Yeah, it's Australian and New Zealand dollars type stuff. Great British pounds to euros. He hasn't lost too much, but he's lost a bit.
Just a little bit out of kilter, but he's got to try and fight this one back, and I think he realises that, okay, there are places in front of me I can get those moves, so let's knuckle down and try and set on up. Battle packs have already formed. David Nash then, after having the drive-through penalty, has now looked for his first compulsory pit stop of the race, and I like this decision out there from David Nash. If he makes his second stop around lap 22, lap 23, he's in the wheelhouse, and as we know, in a series like this where safety cars are possible at any time, it does pay off to pit early rather than late.
Take the biggest stop you can get away with while staying on the lead lap, which again, easy to do at a big lap here at Mount Panorama, and then at any point there's a safety car, it'll bunch you right back up, and you won't have to wait for the wave around, so you should also find yourself in a good bit of track position as well, because they'll come back to him with that early first stop, so long as he stays on the lead lap.
Yeah, race control just getting on the radio. They didn't quite catch what they were saying there, but they have been busy out there, so there are concerns out there of netcode out there, where you get one car that makes contact with another, and there's a little bit of gap between them before the turn out there that is going to basically make it. One of these things out there in simulated racing, as we focus with Mark Poynton trying to find his way up then from 9th into 8th spot, is that this is all predictive in terms of where you are on track, because you're racing one connection to another connection around the world.
Yeah, we saw the tiniest blink when we were with Paul Young earlier. Everyone's connection looks good fit inside baseball, but the largest ping is to Tim Nicol at 100 milliseconds, so it ain't too bad with the Sydney server for all of our Australian, New Zealand drivers.
Yeah, so that is going to give you a sense of what they've got. Christian Smart on the back of this, looking to try and work his way up through right now. He's -1 out there. We haven't seen big moves in terms of what they've been setting themselves up with, but we could see a lot more come along here in terms of where they're going to get these passes, where they're going to get these opportunities. But with a long race like this, one of the longest race of the season, I'd turn around as well, David, and say, how much of this is just trying to get in the fuel tank, save a little bit here?
Seen time and time again that taking your first stint long, if you're the leaders, it's often a good idea to keep you away from traffic. We've seen some drivers sort of inside the top 10 who pit early and end up in traffic and kind of get punished for it. So even more so with this long 300-kilometre format.
Yeah, so with it being a little bit longer, there is a little bit more emphasis to it. As focus here with Allman, with Poynton, with Smart. Nothing offered yet here, but look how close just in front of them there Brian Borg is to the back of Paul Young. So he's certainly eyeing up maybe a chance to go through. And you said earlier on in the season, David, that Brian Borg comes into these races feast or famine. Well, here's the feast, because that's wide from Scott Mackay, and that is going to be at least one place gone to Paul Young. Here comes Brian Borg. This might be the other. Chevy versus Mustang, and it's Mustang to the inside. Oh, gives him hip and shoulder to get by and make the pass as well.
Yeah, both of them making up some spots there. So now it's Young plus 2 spots in this race. Borg's only down 1 from where he started, but Mackay's been penalised pretty heavy for that little mistake just there. That's how it goes. Good outperforming with Chad Lewis, and Ken Latter's caught to the back of that group. So that's where his next spots could come from if he keeps this charge. We saw him get past Barnett. Barnett went wide at the elbow. That's where Ken Latter got one spot.
And it's going to be important that after just getting one spot that you gain more and more, and Chad Lewis just in the middle of a group here, well, in the middle of a gap, sorry, I should say, because he's trying to clear Dean Logsdale. He's doing a good job of that, but as well, Phil Manuel here, he only caught, get this here, David, 100th of a second. That's not much time that he's been able to really reel on in.
No, he's done pretty well across the top of the mountain, though, have Chad Lewis and Dean Logsdale. So we saw using all the way up towards the concrete wall at Sulman Park at the exit of the metal grate. You know, you've got brand-to-brand throwbacks going on, like BA Falcon liveries on Ford Mustangs and, you know, Holden Commodore liveries on Chevrolet Camaros. This Volvo throwback livery on a Mustang is hurting my head a little bit.
Well, different strokes for different folks, isn't it, here? Seeing a lovely Volvo livery out there, it just goes to show you, I think that categories are really cool when there's more variety and more excitement out there, and it goes... That was very close in the background there. You take a look back. I think that was not Damien Cairn, sorry, but Logan Barnett, who's really struggling here to try and catch the rear of his car. He was fighting off the exit, just pushed a little too hard over the curb. Now watch the wheel work here as he comes over. Look, full opposite lock right, then left, and somehow still kept it on terra firma. Never in doubt.
Struggling with the track limits and the traction a couple of times there, Barnett. So from wide at the elbow to a little bit wide coming out of the chase, just lighting it up a little bit sideways. Tough break for him in these last couple of laps.
Just focusing here up to the cutting and these positions. You start looking at the gaps here, and they are crucial here, keeping an eye out on these gaps, because further that these gaps go, you've got to keep an eye on the pit lane transit time, and that transit is going to be ultimately critical here, David, for where you come out and make those first stops for the leaders. So you look at this group here with Greg Sharp, they're already 25 seconds off the race lead. If they lose anywhere to 10 to 15 more seconds, they're in the window of the pit stoppers who want to come in and get their service. And at lap 8, that is a little concerning for those who want to make their first stops, that they might come out in traffic.
Yeah, I can see from Van der Meulen and Nash's stops that cone to cone driving through the lanes just a bit over 20 seconds, but then you need to take a lot of fuel, up to 150 litres in your 2 pit stops or more in this race. So then you add that, big fuel drop means long pit stop times, means even with this field spread, the front of the field would end up in traffic so easily.
Yeah, and then you've got to try and pick your way through it, and that makes life doubly difficult if you can't get through the traffic. So with Greg Sharp, Dean Favell, Damon Fisher, they're being well behaved here. Brenton O'Brien back here as well, with Ron Allen, Matthew Stoyles, Michael Stewart also trying to work his way up through the order. So there's a number of drivers here, and it's great to see Brenton out there and running and giving everything he possibly can out there, because he is someone who has been, I think, you know, for however he is viewed across the Australian sim racing community, David, he has been one of the most influential and important figures in Australian sim racing history.
I don't care what you think as long as it's about me. Is that Fallout Boy or Panic at the Disco?
I don't know. I'm not that much of an emo scene kid.
Not anymore, Jakey, but yeah, you make that point. Some people make an impact, and when you do, not everyone views it favorably, but you made an impact, and he's having a great race. Been enjoying being part of the top split of V8 Vets. You can definitely say he's taken to it well because he's holding his own here in this battle. Super competitive between Sharp in 22nd, with Michael Stewart in 28th. Another driver to watch for a big mover. It's him and Ken Latter, I reckon. Stewart's got 5 on that correct timing, having, I think, had no qualifying time. He's one of a few of those drivers, I think. It was only 1 lap in qualifying. And this is a street circuit. You can graze the walls very easily and therefore have no lap time. A couple of drivers, I reckon, fell foul of that.
Yeah, and they will do. So keep an eye out on that stop and go time. 19 extra seconds is the transit, plus whatever you take then down the lane. Michael Stewart working hard then for the Bailey Stewart Foundation Racing 919. The greatest racing circuits in the world. I'm sure there's a big red dot for where that all sits for him, and he takes on a side-on view here today as he runs in VR, trying to work down through the gears. They're really trying to work on that shifter and say, look, I'm a little bit deep there. I tried to follow slightly the line of Matthew Stoyles. He went a little bit too far in, and that caused issues. Alex Kiddus backwards out of the final corner. So he's trying to find a way to get that one flick spins, and he can't, and he's going too far back. If he's not careful, he'll get disqualified. He flick spins it around. It's technically an unsafe rejoin because that's evading action that Justin McLean has had to take, as well as the likes of those around behind him. So Alex Kiddus will not be happy through the final corner. He was bumped around by, guess who, Mr. Marauder, Kenneth Latter.
Ken's been trying to wait to redress this. There was contact in the final corner, but Kiddis's car isn't right. Ken's going to have to wait an age if he sticks with that. So there was a big pack amongst those drivers, sort of, what was it, almost 12th to 20th, and this has happened in the middle of that group with the concertina effect at Murray's Corner.
Take a replay here. So this is on board the old Mate and Sons machine and into the left. So Latter, he gets there very late. It's almost like he unsettles him in the middle of the corner and then fully turns him on the exit.
That's a bit of contact for sure that Ken's initiated, thought he could get further alongside than he could, and then he's just had that tiny overlap, little couple of taps on the bumper.
Sometimes it's all your own, isn't it? Very tough to deal with. Now, I do want to talk front of the field here for a second, because in the first 10 laps, Jordan Ross pulled out to a 1.4 second margin. Look at what's happened now that the stint's gone a little bit longer here. Wayne Walker has been able to claw that gap on down, and he's got that to within a second. So the last 2 laps, with the exception of lap 10, quarter of a second.
Very interesting. It's sort of come and gone phases here, but then that lap 10, Jordan Ross has pulled a little bit more out of the bag and equalized it.
And you see there on the timing mark there, Jordan Ross's times are all in yellow. Now, that's not a stylistic choice here, David. That just goes to show you they are not his fastest laps, his personal best. You'd be needing to set green laps for personal best, and the fastest lap of the session of anybody, they go in purple. He's got the fastest lap next to his name. That was a 2:06.8, so he's already 0.8 of a second off of his fastest times. Kenneth Latter with a penalty.
Not surprising from what we've seen, unfortunately, for Ken Latter. So it was already looking like Paul Young in the box seat for 3rd in the championship. That makes it perhaps even more likely. I think we'll refrain from showing live points until at least half of the race is done. A little meaningless until the 2 compulsory pit stops have happened as well. But just it paints a prettier picture for Paul Young. Jordan Ross, Wayne Walker, and Sean McNamara as our top 3 at the moment. What this 300-kilometre race distance does mean as well is that the racing line's going to get super rubbered in, and offline will get so dirty.
Oh, very much so. And we'll be seeing how that dirty outside line is going to play a factor late on. It's going to be a rush for the racing line, I think, in the final 10 laps of this race. And so keep an eye on who's being aggressive, looking to try and win that one out in favour. And actually who slips out wide, because often you can get caught out by racing in that style and seeing this circuit just not play the way that you want it to, like it would do, say, in a sprint. Dan Hall in 4th place. What a great run he's having. Top 4 remain unchanged, but it's Paul Young who is giving the hunt at this moment in time. Now, last lap, it was a case of 1.2 seconds lost for Dan Hall. That indicates to me he had a mistake out there on circuit, and I think that mistake was down into the chase. So I think he'll be looking around at it. Yeah, a big old missed apex at the chase, cost him a full second. He didn't even go off-road.
You get these long runs on the tyres, you get the wear that happens, the dynamic track is a little bit hotter and the shadows are getting longer with every single lap. So it's the sort of thing that starts to happen. It means he's not getting away from Paul Young and Brian Borg, and in fact they are catching him as they leave Scott Mackay behind. So the longer this goes on, the deeper we get into the stints, the better it looks for Young and Borg, which is always going to be a positive with the long runs and long stints that are required from a 300k race.
Yeah, so those stints are going to be critical. They're going to elongate, and you are looking around now and saying, well, in the next 3 to 4 laps, we're expecting drivers in. And on top of that, do you think, David, this is going to be a mad rush for the pits where everyone's just going to go as long as they can?
Maybe not quite, based on what we saw at round 1 of the season. A few drivers might look to emulate that a little bit, but the difference between a 2-stop 150k race versus 300k race is massive. The next driver that we've seen come in to make a pit stop, Damien Cairns, has absolutely brimmed the thing. So he must be aiming for safety car goal hanging.
Yeah. You know, it's almost like I don't know if you have the same sort of thing in Australia to the same level, but you know when people put their jumpers down, they use them as goalposts to play a little bit of soccer out there, and you say, oh, look, we're going to play headers and volleys, and you get that one person who just stands in the 6-yard box and goes, right, header, 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 volley. It's that, basically. You're trying to be a poacher.
What it is, it's putting all of your chips on one number on the roulette wheel instead of playing the odds of, you know, red or black.
My money's on green 0. I think that's what you're looking at. My money's on green 0.
Yep. It's the slimmest odds, but the best payoff if it lands. So that's kind of what the early stop can do for you when there is that chance of a safety car, and if you have taken one of your pit stops and then it happens to come out immediately after, particularly in sort of the first half of the race, can often be a benefit. So you've got this field spread happening in the top 10, but you've got some compression happening in some other places.
Brown Brenton O'Brien's the biggest one. Massive.
I was going to say we've got the ERT locomotives, because Chad Lewis and Brenton O'Brien, you can hardly tell one from the other.
No, they're both in front of the group and looking to charge, and so I'd be turning around and saying, look, Chad Lewis is there, he's in 12th spot, but he's got cars behind him that are going to want to try and get by soon in the forms there of Dean Logsdale and Troy Stonestreet, who are going to want to get there. You go back to Brenton O'Brien, look at this locomotive that he's got behind him here. He is pretty much saying, right, Ron Allen, Michael Stewart, Matthew Stoyles, Justin McLean, good luck getting by me on the run here to the chase, trying to lock it down under braking, still with about 3 car lengths of an advantage as he turns in. And so he's got margin, and I think that's important. Brian Borg, first taker.
Yeah, first pit stop we're going to see from inside of the top 10. A few others are coming along, following the Alex Kiddis and Damien Cairns example. with that really long stop, Cairns did end up in clean air. So the opposite is that if you take this first stop and you take heaps of fuel, it'll put you so far back that you'll end up in clean air. Whereas if you take a shorter stop, you'll be right in the middle of the pack. So we'll see what Borg elects to do, but he's already passed 25 seconds of fuel. So it is a decent drink that he's going for right here. And then he saw Ron Allen was in this group, and he peeled away, created a little bit more space behind O'Brien, Stewart, Stoyles, and McLean.
40.4 seconds for Brian Borg as he departs his box. He'll have a big margin over Kenneth Latter, which isn't surprising. He'll come out behind Sean Vondermeulen with air to work with then on the next stint. So keep an eye out on where Brian Borg is, see where he looks to leapfrog and overcome out there as far as his racing is concerned today. He will be seeing that he has allowed now Paul Young to focus fully on Dan Hall out there in that 4th spot. And I tell you what, something that we haven't really been talking about here over the course of this race, David. Top 2 are clear. Sean McNamara, does he know where civilization is? Is he marooned on Gilligan's Island?
He can still just keep an eye on Ross and Walker, but he has got a little bit more race pace than Dan Hall in 4th at this moment. But that switch is about to be flipped for everyone once we cross the starting fuel, and everyone has to take their first pit stop and we see how much fuel they want to take and what kind of pace they have after that. Dan Hall from 4th is coming in.
Yep, he'll come in. Dean Logsdale's going to come in as well. Chris Burridge goes through on Tim Nicol by the looks of things as well. So there's a lot of scrapping going on, which also includes the likes then of Matthew Stoyles and Justin McLean having a good battle. So McNamara in 3rd, having a good run of things at the moment as they all now start thinking about, okay, when's my time and what's the point of going for it? Scott Mackay also in the pits.
Yep, just a couple more takers from that next group as Namara just circulates that 3rd place at the moment. Precision, basically everyone will have already driven hundreds and hundreds of laps of here. It's the least surprising track for these drivers, but it's still an immense challenge.
Well, I'm looking at Dan Hall coming out of the pit. He's going to come out ahead of Sean Vondermeulen. And is it any wonder why he has taken a much shorter stop there? And so he'll have to take that service at the end of the race. Now, if he gets a safety car the way he wants it to, effectively he mitigates the damage. But I look at that, 32.8. That's a full 8 seconds that he takes better than Brian Borg. Brian is setting in for a long middle stint.
Yeah, could be. And then only about 7 laps away from that critical lap number. So could a safety car come out around that time? We'd see almost everyone come in for their 2nd stop. It's made their 1st stop. And everyone that hasn't made a stop yet would only be making their 1st. It would put us in a similar strategy situation to the 1st round of the championship, but only depending on how things play out in the next 5 to 10 laps. Less likely this being a 300k race. Lap times. Ken Latter is zipping. He's the fastest driver on track with his tyres. Allman comes in, Poynton comes in, Manuel, yeah.
Now, I'm not sure I like that decision, an entire group coming in at the same time. Of course, you keep the draft partner that comes back, but there's no variance on the strategy. You just condemn yourself to being there unless your fuel numbers are. Look at that gap grow, David. He has started to really turn the screw now. 2 seconds.
Yeah, this first sector of the lap, I think, has been even more dramatic than the last 3 laps. So Walker maybe just missing something somewhere. And Ross keeping his pace up. And just slowly growing that margin out to above 2 seconds. McNamara we saw still in 3rd, but reaching a point where everyone will have to pit either at the end of this lap or the next, most likely. It's been green since the drop of the green flag.
It's not too bad either here, this one, because he's been putting the gap in to accelerate SimRacing 217. And Wayne Walker will be taking a good firm eye at that and realising, hang on a minute, the margin is still there and we still have a way of getting that back, but it's not being called back at the moment. It's just slowly eking away, and it's not a case of you're nickel and diming, it's just a bit. In comes both of them then. Lap 16, as far as they could take it. Sean McNamara comes in from third position. It's official. We are into pit stop territory fully right now. Paul Young will come in. Christian Smart surely will be the next.
Have to be a fluffy slippers situation to carry on here. Here we go. Troy Stone Street is going to be the one. That's also a GRM livery, if I remember. Or maybe post-Volvo before being Additoned for GRM era. So it looks like it might be just
huge
Troy
missed box. Chris Burridge has missed his box by a mile.
A few others look like they're late turning into their crews as well. Sharp and Dino in the background there, and here's how much Burridge has missed it by.
Let's see, where's my box? Oh, do you know what makes it worse? He's gone into his box, or tried to go into his box. He was in the middle lane, and he was dithering away from the fast lane in the transit lane going, where is it, where is it? And then he missed it.
And then them two blokes in the background, don't know what's going on there. As well as Stone Street going long, also had Brenton O'Brien go long. I saw him doing some fuel saving earlier. Brett Horsell's also
an angle
stayed
from
out.
Greg Sharp. I am shocked that they've actually got that. He might clip the building. Cool. He almost clipped the pit building trying to get himself on the way. Just as we cut away to Wayne Walker, who's gone out and away in third spot, who's underfueled it compared to Jordan Ross and has got now 2 seconds of gap. So that to me, well, 3 seconds there. He's been able to get an advantage then in that first stop by 3 seconds less fuel.
Yeah, so the games are on then. Ross and Walker, who's going to be quick in this middle stint, can Walker fuel save a little bit to get that pit stop gap back while maintaining track position. It's one or the other is the game that they're going to have to play in this middle stint.
And I'll be looking around at those who have stayed out longer here. Stone Street, O'Brien, Brett Horsell, who is someone who is now going to be really important in this race for Wayne Walker, because Jordan Ross would have been stuck behind him down the mountain. So here comes the chance then to go and make this really, really good pass. Jordan Ross needs this one into the next section, and here comes the opportunity. Thank you very much. Easy stuff then going to the chase.
Got to be the in-lap for those that haven't pitted yet, and Troy Stone Street comes in. Brenton O'Brien will be next, and then Brett Horsell, and it'll give Wayne Walker the lead of the race.
And crucially, with a gap here on lap 90 or 18 now, we are of 49. Wayne Walker with the control of this field and realising, okay, this is what I have to do now to hold my margin and to set my championship up. Leading this one outright, giving himself clean air, so the only mistake that he can make is in fact his own. And I note as well from the pit window out there at this moment in time, David, that it's a case that Sean McNamara has actually been reeled in over the stops there by Dan Hall and Paul Young.
Yeah, longest stop time from McNamara, longest of the top 5. In fact, longest in the top 10. Is interesting enough for Sean McNamara. Still kept himself in third ahead of Dan Hall, but not by quite as much. Perhaps a little more touch and go there. But that's McNamara playing a different game than these others.
And let's talk fueling as much as Sean McNamara has done out there, because you're talking advantage versus disadvantage. Now, the advantage of feeling lighter is your car's quicker. Feeling heavy like this for Sean McNamara, what he's looking at here, would you argue, David, is flexibility on strategy when he gets to the pit stop.
Yes, the ability to run longer in this middle stint, take advantage of a safety car if one happens later. Flexibility is the word, is that you've got when you've got more fuel on board. You could still pit the same lap as your rivals, or you could go longer, but they don't have that option, and you do, to decide which looks best for you at the time.
And so you look at these options and you say, right, what's it going to be for me? And the answer is a lot of fuel. And just having a look over as well, because this is season 28. There is a provisional calendar out for season 29, David, as Jordan Ross sets the fastest lap of the race and pulls the gap down to 1.7 seconds. If that is to be believed, and that is what we end up with as season 29, we'd be back at Bathurst for as early as round 2 of the championship.
Oh no, too many races at Bathurst. Also, my lobster is too buttery and my steak too juicy.
Well, that is one way of saying, if you're in the world of David Haynes, would you have a championship round at Bathurst every race?
Well, we've kind of come to Mount Panorama every second season, which is about right.
Oh, where's Ron Allen? Troubles, he's got damage, and he's in the barriers, out then of the chase. So that should necessitate a safety car, and what a time to do it. Lap 19 of 49. It's a big old shunt up for him, and I think they are going to have to throw it. He is technically on the back of an access road, but I don't think he's across for it. Ron Allen's going to have to say, look, I've binned it. I need race control's help. He's done it all on his own without anybody helping him get in there. A safety car has been deployed.
Yeah, that's kind of similar to what we saw Burridge do, was touch that outside curb and get it lit up, but I think he's gone the other way on the exit of the chase, and he's right in the firing line there. So the safety car is called, but we're still a lap or so short of that critical number.
I don't think we are.
Here, fuel save like hell?
I think, David, now, I don't think this is jump in immediately and fuel save like hell. I think this is either under the safety car window, second lap, third lap jump in, and in they come for their second compulsory stops. I think this is going to be a case of, and if I was Wayne Walker, Jordan Ross, I'd stay out till I hit that critical number, lap 22, and come in, lose all the track position, but know I can make it on fuel. And McNamara is doing that.
It's a split, isn't it? So it looks like McNamara and Young are staying out while Walker, Ross, and Hall come in. If you back your fuel saving, you come in now, you soft pedal that minus 100 from here to the end, but it would be a long run on the tyres too. Almost everyone is coming in. It looks like just McNamara and Young staying out. They're going to catch the Project Fade Streetwear safety car on the run into turn 2. And they're going to try to play hot knife through butter later on in this race versus those that are stopping right now, rimming their car and hoping that with a lap or two of safety car, a wave around procedure, and a bit of old-fashioned lift and post, that maybe they could get to the end from here.
That's what they're trying to look at here.
Ross is back ahead.
It's 4 laps difference in terms of fuel. Jordan Ross has now got back ahead of Wayne Walker. That's not the surprising factor of it. What will now be interesting to see is who's going to get that ability to just hold their ground out there and say, look, I am going to be very happy with my result. Dan Hall's come out behind Greg Sharp, who has decided by the looks of things to not come in and take a stop either. So you're seeing your stint gaps out there. Matthew Stoyles has stayed out. Justin McLean has stayed out. Brian Borg also stays out then, and he's all the way down in 18th spot with 2 compulsory stops. So he managed to do 2 back-to-back, which indicates to me something went very wrong on the Brian Borg stop. little bit of detective work probably needed there on Brian Borg, and why he is so far down the order in the laps that he has been able to put together. Dan Hall, well, there is trying to save, and there's trying to save, and I would argue at this point, Dan Hall
Switch it off now.
Not catching the safety car, and that should be a penalisable offence.
Safety car's doing 80. Dan Hall is doing 89 down the hill. The train is at the forest elbow. He's kind of catching it. I mean, you need to look rearwards from Dan Hall to make the judgment, is he catching the safety car train?
I think they're going to do something
Luke
about
Allman,
this.
Sean Van der Meulen and Christian Smart don't reckon he is.
No, because you are actually putting the cars behind you at danger by not catching up to the safety car. If you can't see the car in front, you are going to be piling into the back of Dan Hall as he's going slow. So that's why you're always told, catch the safety car and then don't leave more than 10 car lengths out there. I think Dan Hall has been very, very cheeky in the way that he's tried to go up to the safety car there, to the point where I argued that's egregious.
So what you've got in your top 10 is
And another
Sean
one.
McNamara hasn't stopped. Paul Young hasn't stopped. Jordan Ross and Wayne Walker have just topped up their tanks. Justin McLean and Matthew Stoyles have
Kenneth Latta doing it, and Ricky Hyde doing it. Honestly, what are we doing here?
Fuel saving. Look, 140, 150 is a bit better than,
Yeah,
you know,
I
100
can accept
catching a
that.
safety car train doing 80.
I can accept that to catch the car in front, but, you know, race control have got to get on to the likes of Kenneth Latta, for example, who are trying to desperately fuel save out there and say, look, we're just going to hold on to it and we're just not going to pull through. You've got to do what you can to close onto the back of that group in a timely and effective manner, and that's just not what we've been seeing here. I get that we're very close on fuel numbers and you'll do what you can, but it is a scenario where race control just has to be above and on control for it. And even now, Dan Hall still hasn't caught up to the back of Greg Sharp here. He has pulled a massive gap out there in between them. Look at this on the front straight as they work. Sean McNamara is having to do the hard yards himself at the front behind the Project Fade safety car. But someone like Dan Hall right now is in no man's land.
As they've come past the pit entry, no one who stayed out last time around has come in. If I was at the tail of the field, Matt Brunt's doing it. Come in and just top off that extra one lap. Brunt, Jeff Thomas, and David Nash are doing it. So they're going to be in a stronger field position than everyone else. They need to do one less ridiculous safety car lap of saving.
They do. So Matt Brunt, Jeff Thomas, David Nash. This is the strategy that I was talking about, David. You pit in later because you've got less to go around with. You're only losing a little bit of track position, but you're guaranteeing the finish at the end of the race. That's where the difference in strategy, I think, lies.
Yeah, so this sort of double stop from Brunt, Thomas, and Nash kind of works out. This is how we've ended up under safety car. Ron Allen exiting the chase. A slid snapped the opposite direction to what Burridge did and gone right to the wall.
Yeah, it's the quintessential snap of oversteer, and it makes life so difficult when you're trying to put the power down, because those rear tyres are everything out there. If you don't get the rears planted down, look, the back steps out, you try and slide it about, bang, and there's no way you can save that. And it's one of those guardrails out there, and of course tyre bundles that are there that encroach back onto the circuit, and those often create the biggest points of contact that you see out there and the biggest dispersion of energy in an instant. Just ask Romain Grosjean how quickly energy can be dispersed if you go into a barrier like that one at speed.
So 3 strategy buckets right now. Sean McNamara, all the track position, only 1 compulsory pit stop taken. Jordan Ross, 3rd on the track. Massive fuel save needed to get to the end, or a quick 3rd pit stop. And then those drivers at the very tail of the field who splashed under safety car and are in a 1 lap better situation. Who do you want to be? Restarting with 22 to go. In theory, Brunt, Thomas, and Nash are all past the critical lap number.
Yeah, And so they've got that number sorted. They're looking at this going, we don't have to worry. We have so much amazing action that is still to come. And I think they're setting themselves up and realizing that, okay, let's give ourselves as much as we can here to say we can get there. Now, I do note that they have cleared the damaged Ron Allen out there, who is being allowed to come back out onto circuit after that hit, albeit 2 laps down with the fast repair used. Safety car will now move away, and Sean McNamara will now have control of the field.
He's got to go like the clappers on this restart, because really he's got to look to pull about 20 seconds on Ross and Walker. He's better hope that those two fellas need massive fuel saving. The alternative is that everyone needs one more stop to get to the end, and in that case, you'd expect McNamara to still need to take about 20 seconds of fuel. So he needs 20 seconds of time on track, whichever way that one falls.
Yeah, so that's going to be really important, which way the side of the coin basically it lands. So this is going to be a tough day at the office now, and hopefully for Sean McNamara he finds what he needs. Paul Young also in the same boat. Justin McLean, Matthew Stores, they need it. One more safety car from here turns it to a sprint race. We're back underway. McNamara trying to get a good jump away, and Paul Young's done pretty decently to hold his ground. Now they're not allowed to overtake until they pass the start-finish line, David.
Yeah, and who looks racy and who looks fuel saving at this moment is the question. Even behind safety car, a bunch of drivers look very fuel saving. Do Ross and Walker think they're going to follow that same strategy? Or are they going to go flat out and just take the 5 or 10 second splash of fuel? Heading into the first big braking zone. Hard to tell, but I think Ross is just managing a little bit.
You could say 50 metres out there on the Lyco, the lift and coast, and there's going to be the aim of the day now. How do they manage fuel at this stage? And when you are in a fuel save mode compared to driving flat out, you change your braking markers, you change the style of how you drive, it actually creates more incident than less, I feel.
You change the style of how you flip on the downshifts. Everything is different, and the marker moves for absolutely everything. So yeah, it's a totally different style of driving. You see that Walker is fuel saving here. Behind him, only one stop under his belt. Justin McLean is not. And the difference is marked how Ross and Walker are trying to drive this versus how the drivers that have only made one stop are trying to go flat out. McNamara, Young, they need to do the same thing that Justin McLean needs to do here. And here's a camera that tells you if there's any lift and coast happening.
Oh, it will, because it's flat down to the floor, and if you don't see it flat, then you realise there's some lifting going on. Justin McLean here over the top of the crest. Now, how early does that right foot come off of the throttle, and how long do you set? There you go, trying to flick it in. Oh, he's a mile there trying to make sure that comes down on the brakes. That was at least a good 1 Mississippi that we saw there without foot flat to the floor.
Part of it was to get the nose to dip into the chase. I reckon Walker would have had an even bigger lift. Jordan Ross, even bigger as well.
Oh, let's go back in the field. Big scrap right now between Logsdale and Lewis here into the final corners. Look at this, blip, blip, as it goes through. They really had to fight. There was 2 wide, and there was even a sense that Brad Doble could put his nose in.
Yeah, because there's mixed bags of strategy through the field here as well. Most of the mid-pack is on the same strategy, having taken their second stop, served their 2 CPS under the safety car. They're doing the same as what Jordan Ross and Wayne Walker are trying to do, but behind them, you find Matt Brunt, David Nash, Jeff Thomas with a little bit more fuel to try to burn. You could have drivers that made that stop at the same lap, some of them thinking this is going to be a 3-stop race, some of them thinking I can make it to the end, and that difference could really create the overlap into places like the chase.
It can, and so it's really setting itself up then for what this race is going to be. And look at that, they're going through out of turn 5. Brian Borg side by side with Phil Manuel through the mound Oh my goodness, what a pass by Brian Bull. Manuel now's got no speed. Dean Logsdale's going to be all over him here. Over through in towards Green Park. Metal Crate coming up then on the right-hand side. And Phil Manuel suddenly realises, not only have I lost the place in an unconventional position, but now I'm having to worry about what they're doing behind.
Well, the pace difference between Borg and Manuel would be some, but the fuel-saving difference could account for this as well. Maybe Borg is going to try to go the flat out route. What everyone does into the chase this lap could be very, very interesting. Seeing Jordan Ross go with first and second place, Wayne Walker less so, has Justin McLean just behind him.
Yeah, so all of that work, all of that busyness, I think is going to be really, really critical here, because they have formed into two packs out there. And again, Logsdale's going to have to look out here for Chad Lewis and almost run up the back of Chad Lewis. There was Brad Doble side by side, a little bit further in front here. Scott Mackay has to lift out of it and then think about a way by Christian. Oh, he locks up the inside front, trying to get himself through. He wasn't expecting him to slow up that much, and that's left him vulnerable here. Mark Poynton, oh, they almost crossed beams and contact there. Poynton won't be happy about that.
Troy Stone Street just behind them, one of the drivers that's picked up a handful of spots, and then Brian Borg is all over them. He has dropped Phil Manuel. I think this is the two different styles of approaching this long run home. This is what happens for Mackay to lose all those spots in the chase.
On the brakes.
Overruns it.
Oh, can't get it slowed up, and then has to take a trip across the grass, and then that's where it all starts falling apart, David.
Yeah, you've got marbles out there, he drags the grass and gravel back onto the track, and then you've got no momentum, wrong-sided. You lose spots quickly like that.
So, he'll now have work to do as he is ahead of Mark Poynton, but now behind Smart, Vondermeulen, Luke Goldman out there. I'll tell you what, Sean Vondermeulen, he's been very happy to have that safety car here, David. Remember, he started this race from pit lane, and he now finds himself then in position. Ron Allen is officially a retiree from this race, but Sean Vondermeulen here from the pit lane to the top 10.
Now, I think Vandermeulen took fuel as he exited the lane on the pit lane start. So he's got 2 stops to his name on the timing, but only one of them will be a valid CPS.
Yeah, so on his opening lap, he would have left pit lane, and that would not count as a compulsory pit stop. Side by side there further behind as Brian Bull gets by Troy Stone Street. So he will still have to come in and make a compulsory stop. He's under the position of, I've got a lot of work to do, I can't take it to the end. And there he is in his true shirtless fashion.
It's tough work in the middle of this pack. He's on, honestly, a different strategy to some of those around him, because he's got the same amount of fuel, but he's only got 1 CPS done. They might be in two minds about, can we fuel save to get to the end? He knows he can't, because he still needs to make another stop.
Yeah, it's all about busyness here. If you want to stop versus not, look at them, they're swarming. Chad Lewis having to defend here. Brad Doble wants the inside. He's not going to get it here. Up the top of the crest of the mountain straight, and he lifts off early. Tim Nicol comes across, and you've got to be careful you don't get turned. Nicol gets pushed wide, catches a slide. There goes 1 position through then of Logan Barnett. There goes 2 with Michael Stewart. Chris Burridge will try and make it 3, but it's not 3 for his mistake. Out there as he works up into the cutting. That's how quick you lose gap here at the mountain.
I think they're all in 2 minds still. Are we saving or not? Because Ross and Walker are. McLean's gotten past Wayne Walker, while McNamara and Paul Young are going flat chat. And there'll be a split in this field. A lot of them would be saving as much as Ross and Walker are, but some of them are going flat out. This is how flat out Tim Nichol's going. Yeah, he's gone to the Greg Sharp school of attaching your camera vertically.
Yeah, and I would look around at that. It's on the top of the rig. It's probably turned around, and that is a lovely view of some shelving, a nice table cabinet there that he's got going on. I love it. Nice printer.
I think I've got the same. If that's the IKEA desk drawers, I've got the same, but in a slightly different color. It's all happening on track, in the office for Tim Nicol. We get another lap completed at the end of this one at sort of full and proper racing speed, and then you can start to look who's going flat out and who's not.
Well, Doble's going flat out. He's pushing for a way through. He doesn't get it on Chad Lewis despite using the chrome horn. Now this is going to bring, again, Michael Stewart to the party. Burridge is searching for the inside now, trying to get this to sort. And oh, that's a massive wiggle there. How has Logan Barnett kept that out of trouble? We're going to be 3 wide to turn 1 here. Tim Nicol's going to have to be brave in the middle of all of this, and he gets the clearance on Chris Burridge, but he's too deep, and it's contact between them, and Barnett holds, but Burridge is going to get through, and also squeaking by is Damien Cairns.
Well, that could have been even more chaotic if we went 3 wide in towards turn 1, but somehow it's mostly settled itself out. .208 flat from Jordan Ross, 208.7 from Wayne Walker, 1.2 seconds slower than the race leader, as Walker is trying to get that fuel number.
Now, I turn the caveat the other way around, David. Can Sean McNamara give himself 20 seconds plus to make that stop and come out in the race lead?
He can do enough to get in the top 5 here. He's setting himself a big challenge to be able to clear Ross and Walker, particularly if they go opposite strategies. But that's the pace difference once we got up to speed. Walker got passed by Justin McLean, I think, on lap 24. On lap 25, it's just Walker saving. McNamara needs to put at least 20 seconds into Ross and Walker in this stint to make it work. He's got 7 of them already to Walker, I guess.
You don't need engine braking if you're Wayne Walker. He just does things different out there, and he's realising it. Now watch that, 3, 2, all the way down. And the way he's going down there through the gears, he goes 3rd, 2nd, and just allows the engine to spool up and drop before he goes into that next section. And everyone's got a slightly different way of finding a way to fuel save. And for Wayne Walker, he now finds himself isolated out there. He's not getting any help from any slipstream anywhere out there in this race.
It's a good angle because we can just double check that he doesn't stick his hand out the window and row to try to get it to the end. Up ahead of him, McLean is closing in behind Jordan Ross. So we'll see how quickly McLean can get by and if that helps Ross's fuel saving or what happens there.
So, look at that, having to really get it to rotate up through the cutting. A lovely demonstration of Wayne Walker, one of your championship protagonists, the championship leader, and what he has to do. And he's just trying to think and focus. And I don't know how much you concentrate out there on what you have in the steering wheel. You get a really good sense, David, that you can run the steering wheel you want, just whatever you feel the most comfortable with. So you often do see a lot of sim racing formula style wheels out there, even in GT spec.
Not quite for me, but I reckon I'd rather have a sort of 310mm Formula rim than a 270mm GT rim. So preferences, but if I was going to go a Formula rim, I'd go a slightly larger diameter one. And I feel like it would give you a little bit more control. But there's no doubt what Walker's trying to do. The question is that what Ross is trying to do? And what's everyone trying to do here between 8th and 29th? Where they could be doing the Wayne Walker thing, they could be doing the Jordan Ross thing, they could be trying to do a 3-stop thing. We know that's what Vandermeulen is going to happen.
Or, you could be stuck in a position where you realise you're going to battle Troy Stone Street, fighting with Mark Poynton off the road. Poynton's going to go straight over. Is he going to find a gap in the traffic? Yes. Oh, my goodness me. Mark Poynton with a huge off at high speeds.
You need to make a reservation. You can't just rock up at the Ridges Hotel on race weekend and expect there to be a room free.
That might need a replay, and it might need a brand new set of overalls if he has to stop again.
And that's why they've got to take that little lift going through the kink into the chase. Clean gets past Ross, so Ross saving. This is the pace difference, someone pushing versus saving.
That's big. That's off. That's Jeff Thomas for JWM. And he is all the way down in the barriers there at the final corner on circuit. And he's going to have to go and find his way back. And you don't see him on the road to Bathurst that often out there. That's normally when the race is over. He's caught the grass, and I think he's realised here, I've gone too deep and I'm going to have to flick spin it back round.
That's the way to the fancy hospital in Orange. You're going to head out onto the Western Highway. Don't want to go that way for Jeff Thomas. He's massively overshot turn 1.
So this is Barnett first and foremost. Overcooks it, bashes it in the wall, and then finds himself spread eagle to the circuit. How nobody else got into him is beyond belief there.
Yeah, dug into the Armco after pushing wide and tagging the tyre bundle.
Does he get into Brian Borg here, Mark points, and he did drop a little bit of time. So Brian Borg here looking to be aggressive, angling for the inside, and he just goes, yoink, I'm having that. And Poynton understeering, realises now I've got no drive off the exit. And here comes then the charge that comes along next. But here's the issue. You lose one place, you lose 2 places, and you realise you've got to do something to gain them back here, Dave.
We've already run more laps than we did in the 150-kilometre race that opened the season here, and so that marble build-up around the outside of the elbows was ridiculous, and they might have still been on his tyres when he tried to go around the outside of the fast bit of the kick. Got airborne almost on the change of direction.
Oh, and there's trouble if we go back to live between Scott Mackay and Brian Borg. They've had a little bit of a coming together through the final corner, so I think we might be able to catch that continued on the replay. So Poynton is going to find that. Jeff Thomas found himself around. I think that was all on his own accord there, as he just had to try and flick spin it back around, and then couldn't quite work out how to flick spin it. There were 2 good attempts at it.
That was in fact the final corner, not the first corner. Gets
never
helping hand from behind, in fact.
Never ideal, and Brian Ball realises that was not what he wanted from Scott Mackay. You can see Mackay just hits his normal mark, overcooks it, and then just gets a big load of boot. But Brian Ball, credit to him, just stamps the foot down and says, well, I'm just going to drift out of it.
Replay machine, smoke coming out of the ears, but on the live pictures here, the pace has dropped big time for Jordan Ross in the last lap or so. He's dropped from sort of high 7s, while the leaders do low 7s, into an 0.91 last lap.
Oh, and Kenneth Latter done with for the day then, and that is a drop of connection for Kenneth Latter. So he's out, and that is the free kick that was wanted so easily there for Paul Young, who in second position now is going to confirm 3rd place in the championship.
Be a big drop for Latter, unfortunately. I think it all kind of started with qualifying, amongst other things. Got Ross and Walker for sure saving fuel. McNamara's going fast as he can. He's the fastest driver on track.
And Scott Mackay picking up penalty points then for his incident with Brian Borg on lap 28. So that will also make a difference out there in through turn 1. Bit of side-by-side then. Luke Ullman struggling here for a bit of pace. Sean Vandermeulen looking to try and get his pass by. Dan Hall watches on just behind that, and the chase and looking for the overlap. It's clear. Vandermeulen's making moves.
Yeah, I think Ullman goes, okay, well, I'll sit and save some fuel here. He might not be aware of what we're aware of, that Vandermeulen's on a different strategy. So Hall was showing, as he's 2 cars up the road, that he really wants to fuel save to get to the end. Luke Ullman might be able to do it. Vandermeulen can't because of the compulsory pit stop rules. So Vandermeulen is driving a different strategy fewer options available to him than Hall and Allman. Because both of them, at any point, could decide, you know what, losing too much time fuel saving, time to up the pace and just take that little splash and dash, maybe a new set of tyres somewhere between now and the end, and lay down 10 hot ones and get a bunch of that pit stop time back. They've got that option available to them, or they can save and keep their track position and try to get all the way to the end. But Van der Meulen, less flexibility, less options.
First time we've had a look at a live point scenario. Wayne Walker still 41 points clear as far as things stand by the time that the championship reaches conclusion. If Jordan Ross wins, he needs Walker outside of the top 20 without bonus points. Remember, there's a bonus point in the pocket already for Wayne Walker for having himself on the Zoom wall, so it makes life slightly harder for Jordan Ross, who is racing without his camera being shown out there. Mark Poynton would move up past Kenneth Latter right now into fourth position as well, if he would be able to hold his position. So still a lot to go with out there at the moment. Still time to see moves in this championship. Luke Ullman might have a way to sneak into the top 5 of the standings as well. That could be huge late on for him, and a season that will top and tail him with good running for the Shadow Racing number 35 here at the Mountain.
Yeah, and Ullman will get more spots because Stoyles in 6th, Greg Sharp in 7th. They've also only done one compulsory pit stop, so Ullman's got more fuel and he's covered his 2 CPS. So he either has the same number of stops, but they're quicker stops, or he's got fewer stops. Is Dan Hall trying to fuel save and keep track position here?
Yeah, a little bit of A, a little bit of B. Looks like it here. Dan Hall 2:08.9 on that last lap, 3/10 quicker than Greg Sharp. So he is closing down Greg Sharp, but at the same time, he's also having to be a little bit cautious about the way he goes about business. Very shallow as he looked to work up the hill then and try and get off and away through the right and the left that followed on in tow, then through over the mount and over to Silverman Park. Left-hand corner, metal brake comes up immediately afterwards, and so Dan Hall here, I think, settling himself down for potentially a bit of a brouhaha behind him.
And again, might not know that Van der Meulen needs to stop again. In front of them, 2 drivers that need to stop again, and whatever they're doing, Dan Hall's still catching Greg Sharp, not catching Matthew Stoyles quite as quick. This will get interesting here. Sharp needs to stop again. Hall maybe doesn't. Van der Meulen does. Luke Ullman maybe doesn't. It's a real checkerboard.
Here's a smorgasbord of gainers and losers out there, and there's the focus. Now, do you notice something here from Greg Sharp, that he's not actually running his iRacing screen there on his single screen in full screen view? He's actually got it in a partial view there, and would that be, well, because you're running VR, David, to try and save resource space?
Yeah, often that's what the preview just looks like when you've got the VR headset on, and often it's just a low resolution preview of the left eye, or sometimes the resolution in your VR headset is less than what you get from a conventional monitor. He's doing okay for himself here, 7th. He's hoping for a lot of field spread in the remaining 18 laps. That's the kind of thing that could benefit Greg Sharp. Everyone who didn't stop at the safety car, that's what they're hoping for. Field spread, and then I get my second stop out of the way onto some new tyres and have a really massive offset to all of these long-range fuel savers.
About the difference makers out there, and Greg Sharp is hoping that he can clear a gap. The issue that he's got is the car, for example, that's in 18th place is only 10 seconds down the road. He gets the clearance that he wants. Actually, we've just had Chad Lewis go off at turn 2. He's ridden the barriers all on his own. He's gone in too deep, so that's going to cost him a couple places, and he'll have some scraping up the left side. Moved behind as Ricky High then sees Alex Kiddis' position taken, and oh, he's almost turning him back here is Alex Kiddis, pushing him up the hill. Hyde on the radio. They're too wide as they go through. This is going to end in tears, but Kiddis gets through.
I might touch and go right here, 28th, 29th position. And then David Nash, one of the drivers that took the extra splash, pitting twice behind the safety car effectively.
Over the top of Crest, he's really having to fight here as Ricky Hyde at this moment. Remember how much he was having to fuel save out there after the stop. He's got David Nash behind him, who, remember, was one of those drivers who gave himself the most room possible. Oh, big spin! That's a massive off there coming out of the chase. It's Troy Stonestreet in the 801 Sim Racing car, who's running deep trying to get the pass on Christian Smart and then got turned across the quarter panel.
Yeah, they were side by side through both parts of the chase. Gravel's been dragged back on as Stonestreet gets going.
Let's have another look. So he's gone in deep. He's trying to hold it. Now, look at this. That is a poor rejoin.
Yeah. He's off the track just, but he's off the track and then not in control, not holding a line. Way out of control as he comes back. It's not the line he was trying to hold, but he was trying to carry too much speed to keep the spot as he bombed down the inside. Can I request another lap time comparison, McNamara to Jordan Ross?
Well, Jordan Ross here.
I said McNamara needs 20 seconds, and he's got 14 already, and it is growing quickly.
But on that last lap, Jordan Ross lost 2.2 seconds. So that indicates to me Jordan Ross has had to go even deeper into the tank than he has had to previously. He's not had an off anywhere. He's just having to go even deeper into the fuel reserves.
As I said, McNamara's got to find... Oh, geez, he's like 15 k's an hour down. My, oh my. Yeah, I said McNamara's got to find, 25 to 30 seconds between the end of that safety car and the checkered flag. So I said about 20 seconds in this stint. Paul Young comes in. But yeah, it's like, okay, well, in the space of 8 to 9 laps, that margin's happening at the rate that Ross is going. Walker's doing, honestly, not dissimilar times. And now we're going to see where Paul Young comes out. Brand new tyres, 16 laps to go, shouldn't need much fuel saving. And then on the other side of this pit stop from McNamara and Young, they'll be eating these guys up even worse because the fuel difference is there and there's going to be a tyre difference. How much traffic is Young going to get though?
Fair bit by the looks of things, because he falls outside the top 15 and he's really going to have to motor. I look around at Jordan Ross and Wayne Walker's position right now. Walker doing a better job time-wise than Jordan Ross. It's almost a scenario that you've got. You're late at night, David, and you've got the red light on your car, and you're trying to find a fuel station out there. You've got to try and save the fuel to make sure you don't run out of fuel, but also you've got to get to the fuel station in a certain amount of time before the fuel station closes.
How'd you know how I drove to the Bathurst 2023 12 hour?
Because I'm a psychic. Paul Young back out and away again then, and working towards turn 2, critically behind Shane Randell. So the worst thing you can have if you're coming to make a stop, traffic, and traffic up the mountain. He tries to go to the outside. It's covered defensively there by Randell, and this is horrible right now, the position for Paul Young, because now surely he's going to be stuck all the way until the elbow. At best, he's probably looking at trying to get a run out of McPhillamy to have a try over the top of the mountain.
I think with the amount of fuel Paul Young took at his first stop, this was as late as he could go before making the second stop. Well, McNamara took a little bit more, so McNamara's probably got another 2 laps or a tiny bit more before he's got to make his stop. So that's where that difference in how much fuel you take at the first stop actually gives you flexibility through the middle stint to not be stuck in this kind of traffic as much. It's what we spoke about, and it's come true for Paul Young versus Sean McNamara, trying to contend for the win in this race.
Yeah, so that pressure is, gonna tell, he's almost pushing Shane Randell down the hill here. This is what he didn't want to get stuck in. He wants to use those tyres, he can't, and this is why track position's king. Justin McLean has had to come in and take his final service. So we're now starting to see the pieces of the puzzle start to get put into place here. And now here comes the chance. What a moment this is going to be. Randell defends this one here for position. He realizes this is a scrap, and Paul Young drives around the outside, probably says, well, I'm trying to go for first, what are you doing? And says he's clear.
Then there's Brunt, who's got that one extra lap of fuel we spoke about, pitting on the second lap of the safety car rather than just the first opportunity. So see what kind of pace he has. As one of Paul Young's key rivals is out of the lane. McLean is a couple cars further up the road just. And McNamara stays out for another lap where he's over a second quicker than the fuel savers.
Yeah, he's absolutely flying. And here's another look down the inside. Oh, he pushes there on Justin McLean. And he's actually lost out to Justin McLean in the stop. McLean had just come out on his set of tyres. And he has just been absolutely stolen by Paul Young there on that work. So great stuff by Paul Young. He just about saved his position compared to Justin McLean, and now he's got to work through the order. But keep a look at this. This is a SimRigs replay of just how aggressive you need to be. Driver straight out the pits, immediately defensive, but not enough there. Look at this here from Paul Young. He just knew, oh, I'm safe, I'm safe. No, you're not. Paul Young's on the brakes.
You've got that speed difference heading up the hill from a driver who took turn one versus a driver who's on the tighter pit exit. It's just cumulative heading up over the straight until they just get you when you thought you were clear. McNamara goes another lap, that big first stop, letting him run in the clean air and run how much faster than Jordan Ross? 1.4 seconds, and maybe about a second and a half quicker than Wayne Walker. Maybe 2 seconds quicker than Wayne Walker.
Yeah, he's flying. He is absolutely flying. And in comes Matthew Stoyles now for his final stop of the race. McNamara, I think, realising now that he is trying to make hay while the sun shines. Give himself as much
probably
margin
only
as
needs
he's
40
got.
more litres. If he's taken 93, we thought the total drop was going to be 140 to 150. We've had one safety car, round down to sort of 145. Yeah, about 45 litres required.
That's going to be, what, 30 seconds on the lane?
Yeah, less. Where'd my point of comparison go on the timing screen? About 20 to 22.
And there's always a chance that he's just going to lose a little bit of time to Ross and Walker, and he'll start charging later on in the race. This is a really, really critical moment here that Sean McNamara, looking for his second win in 3 races, is going to go for. He's done one on a tyre strategy, and this one would be on a fuel strategy there. That would show you he is the thinking man sim racer.
Because right now, his tyres are about the same age as Jordan Ross. But Jordan Ross has got to save a whole heap of fuel. And that's the difference. But on the other side of this stop, Jordan Ross will still need to be saving fuel, and Sean McNamara will have new tyres. He'll have him cornered and surrounded on 3 fronts. The only snare set for him is a bit of traffic.
Yep, 20 laps then, he's able to go. Oh, he's overshot it! He's overshot it on pit entrance. Sean McNamara, pushing very hard there, has overshot it on pit entrance. I don't see a black flag next to his name. He might have got away with it.
He's all right, but it's not exactly how you want to do it. You can jump a fair bit of that. And, hey, those tyres, I think they're about to come off the car. This is the battle he kind of wants to be ahead of. Well, he definitely wants to be ahead of this battle. But he wants to be ahead of about Smartin, Logsdale, 9th, 10th, and 11th if he can manage it.
Well, Chris Burridge, Dean Logsdale, Christian Smart. It's going to be close, but I don't think he's going to get clear. Burridge looking to the inside. He's not going to get there, and he has a massive amount of oversteer. Christian Smart still there. McNamara still sat down in the lane, looking to try and get the drive then as he looks to go soon, but he's not. He's going to be behind. He's going to be quite substantially behind. Phil Manuel goes through. Brad Doble goes through. Off comes McNamara. Michael Stewart finds himself ahead. He'll be ahead of Damien Cairns, and critically, he'll have a pretty big gap then to go and work with. McNamara now has got to run the table.
Well, he's still clear of the Young and McLean tangle that's got Tim Mickle, Brenton O'Brien, Dean Flavel, Chad Lewis, Damon Fisher, and Alex Kiddis. So that's an advantage for McNamara, but it's still not seas parting for him. It's definitely not seas parting for poor Justin McLean here.
No, McLean struggling, and he will lose out now to Brett Horsell. Paul Young stuck trying to get by Alex Kiddis, who's very difficult to go and get by. Remember, all of these are full position here. You'd think, even if they are not going to go to the end of the race, David, they are looking around at this with, okay, I am still going to fight this full position. The faithful VFS 81 really struggling by the old mate and sons machine of Alex Kiddis.
Everyone in front in this group stopped the first lap of the safety car, etc. So they're all doing similar stuff. And even when you're this much quicker when you're Paul Young, there's only 2 good overtaking opportunities per lap. So you look at a group of 6 and more cars ahead of you. Whoa.
That's huge. That's Paul Young in the wall. And he is either going to have to limp that one back, or there is going to be some major issues of stoppage there. That's a huge moment down the hill for Paul, and that is contact with Justin McLean, who got into the side of him, tipped him round and said, nah.
So the game they were trying to play is it's still going to take them 4 or 5 laps or more to get through the traffic, even with the pace advantage that they had. And I think it sort of starts at the dipper there for Paul Young. Was he trying to make an unconventional pass? Because he was further up the road from McLean.
No, he was already clear, and I think he just understeered, and then he's been trying to fight it back the other way as McNamara now has got himself set on Brad Doble now for position. He's already cleared Michael Stewart. He will now look for another pass out there up into turn 2 of Griffins. So he's definitely getting that one set, and thank you very much, he gets that. But I think he's just been slow, and then he's really working to try and gather that back, and it's just not played ball. And then McLean's just jumped in on the scene as they set up for the dipper, set up for the elbow. Sorry.
So the only driver that the staying out strategy really looks like it could work out for is the driver on screen, Sean McNamara. He gets past Brad Doble, no worries. Next will be Field Manuel. His gap to the leaders is 25 seconds with 11 laps to go. But if Ross and Walker have to bail out and take a stop, he's in the best seat if that happens.
And it's about how much of a stop they might need if they bail, and it might be who has fuel left at the end of this. And goodness me, haven't we seen in 1000 folklore time and time again, David, how important fuel number is late.
So McNamara still needs to make up some time to get within that theoretical pit window for the others, and then more if he's going to catch them on track. Going past Manuel, no worries. The thing is, the longer this goes on, the closer we get to the checkered flag, the more he's going to be catching drivers that either pit to get out of his way or realise the Herculean fuel-saving task they've got to do. It should get easier, but it will never become a cakewalk.
No, and that's the key here. Van der Meulen in for his second compulsory pit stop. That's 1 car less than for McNamara to clear. He's back into the top 10 as he will look at Burridge, Logsdale and Smart, and that's the big issue that he sits with. That's the group he's got to do. Jordan Ross did a 2:08.9 on that last lap, and I will note here the lap of Sean McNamara was a 2:07.2. Yes, he's back by 24 seconds, but if he keeps nibbling in that gap over the last 11 laps of this race, that's not going to be 24 seconds. I think he's still good. It depends on if there's fuel for Ross and Walker, because I think he's covered the transit time magnificently.
The jaws of the crocodile are closing pretty quickly. The next hurdle is Christian Smart versus Dean Logsdale versus Chris Burridge just ahead here. He's got 2 seconds a lap of pace advantage on these guys. There's 3 cars cannot be cleared in 1 lap easily, even with that kind of pace advantage. You kind of have to nibble them off one at a time, And we're no longer in you've got 20 laps, 22 laps to make this happen. You're about to have 10 laps left to make this happen. Every single opportunity becomes a little bit more, take your harvest or see it wither on the vine.
And if it withers on the vine, you gave it your all. This is the last chance this season to put your name down. McNamara now on the back of Chris Burridge. This isn't going to be easy here, these passes here with Logsdale, with Christian Smart. They are there, they are searching, they are trying to get everything they possibly can out of this one here. And on the brakes through the fastest corner of Australian sim racing, McNamara is forced to chase, and David Nash is now out of the race now.
So McNamara's got to make these moves. Can't wait too long. He'll have so much more traction out of the corners. So he gets to the inside of Murray's. And that's that done. But it's not going to be at 07.2 again. It's going to be 07.6. He's lost a little bit of time as he's had to salmon his way upstream.
Chad Lewis and Alex Kiddis, a massive amount of contact between them off at the corner there of the chase. And so they're fighting into the final corner. Thank you for the freebie, says Justin McLean.
There's been a chunk of drivers here that are playing Tour de France. I'm in the peloton, but coming into this final sprint to the end, I'm then going to try to flex my muscle, try to jockey to the front of the pack. They've been saying a little bit after you, trying to save that fuel in the pack. And now they're trying to move ahead, and I think this has been sort of one of them.
Yeah, that focus is still there, and you really get the sense with McNamara, with Logsdale, with Christian Smart, they're all fighting hard, but it's all about that battle here. So this is down the hill, and this is Paul Young, and oh, that would have done it. So you'd have had the initial contact down the hill there. One car would have gone sliding about behind, and then McLean would have jumped on the scene, and then the contact would have hit even further. So he brushed the wall on the inside, pushing too hard. And netcode.
McLean's not done too much wrong there. It's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate that Young's overcooked the dipper, and that's kind of where it starts. McNamara another spot, but just as he does so, Wayne Walker has pulled out a little bit more pace on the bus. Back in the 07s, Walker pulled a second and a half out of Jordan Ross. And it's not over between those two either. Plus McNamara, full pelt, new tyres, no save.
Brenton O'Brien just come out of the pit, and he's been done for speeding. He'll have to come back in and do that all over again as he goes through. Disaster for him and what he was hoping for out there. Pushing through still. McNamara the focus, because Jordan Ross still with a 3.1 second margin at the front of the field with 8 laps to go, but it's about whether he's in position or not. Is Sean McNamara to get what he needs. He's at an agonising 22-23 seconds off of the race lead. You argue that's the sort of window he's going to be hoping to stay with as he climbs the crest of the mountain here and over towards turn 2 at the Griffin's Bend.
Ross and Walker are suddenly going flat chat again. Are they going to have to make another stop? No, you wouldn't be doing 09s fuel saving and then suddenly go to 07s. You just do 08s the whole way through. I think they've gone so deep into their mid 09s and gone, gee, this number just isn't coming back towards me. Surely you wouldn't fuel save that hard and then go full speed with 8 laps to go. You'd strike a better balance in between. It would have suited them better.
Maybe, but I look at Jordan Ross here and I wonder whether he's realised, okay, the gap's not good enough, I need to really push here. And Wayne Walker's still pushing and I have to keep him behind me. And, there's drivers behind who are wanting to try and make their beds and lie in it here. You look around at Brian Borg and Dan Hall and Luke Ullman, Mark Poynton, they've all got something they want to say in the final stages of this race. Can you imagine a world where once again it's Luke Ullman, David?
Oh, well, the mountain decides, but I didn't know that the mountain had, favourites and Nepo babies.
Well, that's a bit harsh.
Well, to be the mountain's favourite son would be something special.
It would be. McNamara not close enough here on Christian Smart. He's going to need a big run out of this corner here and over towards Murray's. He's got a chance. If he wants to look to the inside, Smart's going to have to be brave on the brakes here, but McNamara's braver. He gets overlap, commands the apex, and Christian Smart doesn't fight it hard. So there's the move for sure, McNamara. Now he's just got to try and focus, put in the clean laps. Poynton's a long way away, and looking at the groups in front, Poynton in the 08, Allman in the 08, Dan Hall in 09 that last time by, Borgie in an 07 as well. So I think Ross, Walker and Borg are committed to pit stops.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense that they would save so hard and then go to flat chat. It doesn't compute that you'd swing so hard from one end to the other of the pendulum if you thought a little bit of fuel saving would get you home.
It might not make sense, but for the moment...
Seems like Dan Hall's still saving, though.
Yeah, it definitely does. It looks like Luke Allman and Mark Poynton, I think, are still saving too. So over the top of the hill, there is desperation to try and get yourself home and dry and hope that you've got enough for it. Dan Hall trying here, down the hill. Good news is you don't need much throttle down here.
No. I've kicked the toy car off the top of the hill and it's made its way to the chase. A real car will do it too. You can flow so much momentum through there, lift so much earlier and lose very little speed. Same happens for going into the chase with that kink in the way into it, and then you add up every other little corner that you can roll 50 meters or 100 meters, and the total fuel saving that you can do around here can really stack up. Let's listen to them.
No,
what you can do is lift before the kink and then just never get back on throttle and coast that sort of 80 meters from apex of the kink into the braking zone.
It's not really much clutch here from Dan Hall either, so I wonder whether he feels comfy at this moment.
He's picked up the pace too.
He has had to pick it up because he's under the threat of Luke Allman behind here, and they'd be looking at their fuel number calculations. Remember, all the laps that they would have done under safety car would have helped. Massive kicker tail there from Mark Poynton. He's pushing.
Getting into the late evening here as well, track cooling off, air getting cooler. I wonder if that's helping them go quicker, but also not helping them save fuel.
I wonder as well. There you can see track temperature gauge there, bottom right corner of your screen. Lots of work to be done late, side by side. Up the mountain they will go. This one is Burridge on the outside, fighting with Dean Logsdale. Logsdale deciding, look, it's elbows out in the scrum. I'm getting that one done.
Reckon Logsdale looks like he's still saving though. Burridge less so.
There is
Christian Smart less so.
Working hard. And look at that.
Tactical tongue usage.
Tactical tongue out. You love to see it.
Oh, I reckon tongue out is a fuel saving technique, not a qualifying lap technique. I reckon it's that type of surgical precision, the economy of movement. A painter making a masterpiece with as few strokes as possible.
And would you say the broad strokes of a head lean are qualifying?
Yeah. Oh, that got damage.
That's more than damage. That is the entire front ripped off of his car, and I would hazard a guess and say this has happened at turn 2. So that would be for Matt Brunt disastrous in terms of what he's looking at. No, it would have happened a lot earlier. It's happened out of the final corner. He was scrapping hard with Shane Randell, who's proven difficult to pass in this race. Coming through the final corner, just tags the back, loses all of the downforce off of the front, and it goes in a wicked whip all the way back there. Look at it. The bumper was just left there for a souvenir.
It's a hermit crab trying to find a new shell, and what a bizarre line off the corner from Randell. Matt Brunt's one of those drivers that was in a one-lap better fuel position, and this is the part late on where I think he was trying to reap what he had previously sowed.
Very close there on the scrap as they work in. That's McLean. Tim Nicol there on the inside, losing out. Alex Kiddus still holding his ground out there as they cross. 6 laps to go at the mountain. Still very much undecided here in this season.
be a 30-lap run, including 2 laps behind safety car, for Jordan Ross and Wayne Walker to make it to the end. Can they do it with still 6 laps to go? If they can't, can Dan Hall? If he can't, can Sean McNamara pull out an amazing win on a gutsy strategy to stay out in the safety car when everyone else stopped?
The sun is setting here at Mount Panorama in sim time, 6:10 out there. This is going to be a case of who has got the magic left here as they fight for it, and who's got enough to whisper down to their fuel tank. You saw up on the top, play tested out. We thought 27 laps was going to be the number that was going to be hit. Look at the sheen across the circuit over the top of the hill.
Yep, just past 6 p.m. local time. Sun setting over the central west, casting long shadows. A big breeze bringing in some cool air, so the track and the air cooling off. If you've got fuel and tyres, you can go so quick right now, but if you're trying to save, it's not really helping your delta to the flat-out runs.
No, it definitely isn't, but for the moment, Ricky Hyde on the brakes then with Van der Meulen behind. Randell, you've got Scott Mackay as well. They're all together and they're all fighting hard in this group, saying, look, come on, we want to have a go at this one. Ricky Hyde has to let that one go to Van der Meulen then on the straight, and then they'll all pack on in and say, look, we're going to have to continue working on our line, on our reason, on our way to go and get the result. So that's what they're next looking at here as they enter the chase.
Van der Meulen doesn't need to save, but behind him Hyde and Randell now do. Scott Mackay, don't think he needs to. And you can see the difference in how they're approaching all of these braking zones. So some of the approaches that Randell is taking are unique to him.
Randell very much in this one, understanding what his battle is. Side by side at turn 1, Scott Mackay trying to work down the order, or up the order here. Past Shane Randell, gives him a little bit of door and a hip and shoulder, and there's still a little bit of room between them. Almost rubbing wheel arches up the hill for this one. And look at this, Kiddis in trouble, and this could be huge because that's at turn 2, and he immediately has had that contact there with Justin McLean, and he's not going to be happy about it. He's driven it straight into the wall. I think he's stuck in the guardrail. He's stuck in the guardrail. Is this a late safety car to change the complexity of this race?
He's in the concrete on the inside of turn 2. He's going to try to get it going. He's still got an engine. He just needed to find a gap. Well, he still does somehow.
He'll be able to drive it off. We stay with green flag running here. And a shaky, shaky sigh for Sean McNamara, as he was hoping there was not going to be anything that would cause difference out there. There is a car into pit lane right now. That is Damon Fisher. Jordan Ross going over the line then with 4 laps to go here at the mountain.
Borg pits, but that's not a surprising pit just before the safety car. This is Kiddis. Oh, the marbles are insane. He copped a hit, saved it, and then spun it up on the marbles on the exit of turn 2, trying to get going again.
Ullman's bailing out of it now. He's going to have to take a late stop. This is a case of who's managed it and who hasn't. Still limping down the hill. Ullman's going to fall now outside the top 10. By the looks of things, it won't be the double for him at the mountain, as he will come out around Michael Stewart as he looks to get the power back on. So Brian Borg there, he's going to come out with Michael Stewart, and Luke Ullman's going to be a bit further back of that. He'll be with around Justin McLean then as he exits pit lane. So that's going to be huge as far as that one sets up, but that's now the alarm bell for Jordan Ross, for Wayne Walker, for Dan Hall and for Mark Poynton. Sean McNamara has life yet in this race.
Absolutely fascinating. Luke Ullman comes back out just behind Justin McLean. So all that traffic that McLean was in, 11 laps on fresh tyres, and he's only just ahead of Luke Ullman, who I think has taken 4 new tyres to go with his splash of fuel. Here's Jordan Ross. This would be the end of 27 laps, 2 of which were behind safety car. It's so touch and go hardly lifting. 290.
Yeah, he's going all out for it, and he knows he's got to. Through the chase, I think he's realising it's Splash and Asheville, and he's going to have to make that call. Stays out, another lap it's going to be. 3 to go then at the line. Wayne Walker, what does he do behind? He follows suit out there. So this is where Jordan Ross is trying to win this race and win this championship, because this is between these two drivers. It's about who blinks. If Wayne Walker blinks, he knows that he's got room to go down the order, but if he runs out of fuel, Wayne Walker on the last lap, that could be his championship. I don't think Wayne Walker can afford to risk that.
Our whole top 5 as they stand on the track right now, I can forecast a way for them to win this race in the next 3 laps. Anything could happen. It could be Ross needs to take a stop and the rest carry on. Walker wins. It could be they don't need to take a stop. Ross wins. It could be Ross and Walker need to take a stop. Hall wins this. It could be the 4 of them need to stop. And Sean McNamara swoops through on the final lap on a path to victory. And it could be Mark Poynton's been saving in the slipstream at Dan Hall, and he pulls out a little bit of pace on the final lap. 5 drivers have a path to victory unique to their own circumstances.
It's a grandstand of all grandstand finishes then here at Mount Panorama. 3 laps to go. And here is the group 3rd and 4th. Dan Hall, Mark Poynton for Evolution Racing Team and Frog Leap Juice. They're climbing up then through Griffin's Mount, looking to try and get that clearance. Steady as she goes. Over the top then, over through Solomon into Metal Grey. McPhillamy comes along and they're over the vista view of the skyline. And this is where I think they realise, okay, we're still in the 7s and 8s. We're still worried about McNamara behind. McNamara currently cannot catch them at the current rates.
Yeah, he's moving, but at this point, Jordan Ross is going quicker than him on those much older tyres, suggesting no fuel saving at all. And some other drivers trying to lift, coast, clutch, slipstream, roll to the checkered flag. Smart, Burridge, Logsdale, Manuel. Any of these guys going to run out of fuel or head to pit lane in these final couple of laps.
Ross stays out again. If he doesn't pit at the end of the last lap, he's committed to the bit. Wayne Walker as well, same scenario. McNamara realises he's in 5th. Christian Smart in this big battle here. 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and also for the top 10. Brad Doble under threat. Brian Borg has just gone through and taken that one on Conrod. So this is huge. Christian Smart needs this. Chris Burridge needs a day like this. And Christian Smart still needs a little bit of something then late on in this race.
Difference, 290 versus 275 k's an hour. Are they keeping the boot in it or coasting it into the chase? And he's coasting it into the chase, but so is Burridge, Logsdale and Manuel behind him, because they're doing the same. They're enjoying the slipstream. They've got 2 to go as they cross the start-finish line.
And you love slipstream. You can get the pace up and you can make sure that you keep the throttle off as you make the charge. This is going to be where I think they're realising what this day becomes for them. Smart over to the left-hand side. They all try and look at it. He's weaving. He's trying to shake him off here on the straight. And I'm shocked to see that big lift off from Chris Burridge then.
Borg's coming to get him. Brian Borg was the fastest driver on track last lap, and there he is coming out of turn 2. 4 drivers fuel saving in front of him. He could gobble them all up.
He absolutely could. And the key here is he's got to do it one at a time, and I'm not sure he's got the laps to do it one at a time. So he's going to have to be uber brave in the Mustang mods number 017 if he wants to jump this one up and say, look, I'm going to try and
He can get 2 in the chase, the way they're driving.
He could get 2 in the chase. It's very plausible.
He could get all 4 of them coming into the chase the way that it's going, but this is decision time for the race leader.
Jordan Ross, what do you do? Do you stick or do you twist? That's the question that he has to answer, and whether he's got enough to make it over to the line. He thinks about it. He's going to have to go the entire last lap. He's got no choice. He's got to guarantee it. Wayne Walker feels his numbers good as well, so he's going to stay out then and make this one happen. Hall and Poynton now, I think, have to stay out. They've got no choice in the matter. We go back to Brian Borg here, looking for 9th spot. He'll get Phil Manuel without really any much of a fight to go and deal with as the last lap of the season now starts, and it's all about who's got got numbers and who's got it late. Logsdale looking then on Chris Burridge. Burridge throws a defence and goes in, sailing too deep into the corner. That's going to bring the chance then for the move to come along. Around the outside goes Dean Logsdale. He has the inside for Murray's, and he will now look to make this move, get it done on the inside and say, yes, sir, I'll have that one and then some out there as he looks to push, but it's not done with on this last lap. Here comes Brian Borg. Does he push it 3 wide? No. It's got to be a bit calmer than that as they go in through Hell's Corner. Turn 1 out on circuit. Here's the drive off the exit. He'll get 1 and maybe 2, but he's boxed in slightly and he might need to start pushing here along this run. He gets the clearance now, moves to the left-hand side of the road to go and get this done. Brian Borg can't get enough in a straight line. He's just got to be better on the brakes now. Around the outside of turn 2 at Griffin's Bend. Very, very close. You don't want to risk it here. Oh, he almost turns him over the nose, and he still comes back. What a brilliant scrap this is at the end of the race. Jordan Ross is coming down the mountain. Here, Wayne Walker, I don't think, has got enough. It's close here at turn 4. Over at the cutting, but Burridge holds his ground and they will stay in line over the top of the hill. We're going to have to go to where they have all been fuel saving at the moment. Dan Hall still trying to hold on for a podium here on what's been a wonderful drive at the office here today, saying, look, I'm going to be the one who's charging. But Jordan Ross knows he only needs drive now, coming through the left and right here of the chase. He has mastered the fuel strategy brilliantly. He saved and saved and saved and saved some more, and he will get himself his victory. The only thing that Jordan Ross can't save is a title. Jordan Ross rounds the final corner and wins at the mountain. Wayne Walker, though, behind him will know his title is his again. Wayne Walker is SimRigs V8 Vets champion once more.
Back to back to back for Wayne Walker as he's going to be on that podium, but who is going to join him?
Poynton close, slides out the exit. Dan Hall gets the podium.
Both of them picking up the pace right a little bit at the end there. Sean McNamara, what could have been for him, he'll take 5th. And then the next group of drivers with whatever they've got left to use in this final lap.
Look at this, straight down the inside. Borg's going to have to try and get something here. It's a short run to the line. And so Logsdale will finish ahead of Brian Borg, and he will get 9th spot only as they cross. Still fights then Ullman and Young together on the road then as they come to the line. They're not going to see too much movement out there, and still Shane Randell going for one late here as he will now be in a big scrap with Dean Flavell and Greg Sharp, and Sharpie now is going to need to set it up. Oh, he's loose there. Shane Randell is loose on the final lap, and out of fuel is it there on the brakes going into the final corner. Dean Flavell might be out, and they'll look at the drive. Flavell's got nothing, and look at it, they'll push him over to the line.
Oh, they didn't read it quite right. They should have known. Don't drive in his wheel tracks off the final corner, but instead they shove him over the line. Dean Flavell, I think, just lost that one to Greg Sharp. Jeff Thomas couldn't sneak by when he should have been able to.
Mega. What a race here at the mountain. It delivers, and the safety car gave it the window that it had been waiting for out there. Confirmation of result. 1 hour, 49 minutes, 43 seconds it took to find a winner, and Jordan Ross, who was able to master it, was able to stand on ceremony for it there. It's going to be a case that he's ahead of Wayne Walker by 7.6, who takes his 3rd straight crown. Then with that 2nd place from where he started, Dan Hall and Mark Poynton, 3rd and 4th in today's running. It's Sean McNamara who finishes 5th ahead of Christian Smart and Chris Burridge, a gain of 11 in the race, and my argued candidate there for M1 used car driver of the day from M1 Racing. Dean Logsdale gets 8th place ahead of Brian Borg and Phil Manuel, rounding out your top 10. You look over the page then to Brad Doble and Damien Cairns, 11th and 12th, as Justin McLean and Luke Ullman are 13th and 14th. Paul Young then finishes ahead of Michael Stewart, who had a wonderful drive up the field here today, gained 19 places there in the Bailey & Stewart Foundation car, with Tim Nicol, Chad Lewis, Sean Vondermeulen from pit lane, and Scott Mackay making up your top 20. We had 27 cars on the leading lap. Ricky Hyde, Shane Randell, some of them. Greg Sharp having to push Dean Flavell to the line there. He's shy by by 15 thousandths with no engine, well, no fuel left in his engine, as Jeff Thomas would be just behind that with Matthew Stoyles and Brett Horsell then for company, as first of those a lap down would be Matt Brunt. Brenton O'Brien had a speeding penalty and he's a lap down. Kenneth Latter at 2 laps down, then running into a lot of troubles here today from a poor qualifying. Alex Kiddis 4 down, Damon Fisher at 5, and the retirees David Nash at 11, Troy Stonestreet at 14, Logan Barnett and Ron Allen making up the 36. David, what a magnificent season.
Yeah, absolutely. The Aussiest season of SimRigs V8 Vets yet, and a double dose of the mountain, both of them outrageous and unpredictable, but absolutely spectacular. I take note of Wayne Walker's lap time on the last lap of the race. He was out of fuel, so Jordan Ross absolutely played him in that final stint, managing the fuel the right way and still having pace at the end when Walker couldn't keep up the same speed at the same fuel save.
Well, what a time to now talk with your champion for the 3rd consecutive season, Wayne Walker, here with us right now. Wayne started 2nd, finished 2nd, had to get into the fuel save game in the second half of that race, but a job well done here at the mountain. Congratulations on your championship.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, that was a tough race. Yeah, I don't think there was any beating Jordan tonight. He had a couple of tenths, 2 or 3 tenths on everybody. So yeah, awesome job by him. But yeah, to win 3 in a row, 3 championships in a row, it's awesome.
Talk us through the mid part of your season, because you had the start to the championship, which was a little bit patchy, but you form in the mid-season. You picked up 5 wins in a row, and you absolutely fired forward with everything that you had available to you, Wayne. Just how incredible was that for you to go and get the all-important results in the middle of the season that gave you this platform for a little bit less worry tonight?
Yeah, well, there was a few, like mid-season, there was a few unexpected sort of wins. Like Winton, I wasn't sort of expecting the results I got, and Phillip Island as well. I've never sort of gone that well there, so to win there as well. But yeah, that sort of set the championship up, and sort of towards the end, all I had to do was try and sort of stay up on the podium and not make any mistakes.
And the mistakes never came, and it is your 3rd straight championship, which means, and I see you brought the provisional calendar up on the left-hand side of your screen. It now means, are you going to be sitting around saying, I look at that provisional calendar and I want to go get my 4th straight crown?
No, that was actually the calendar from this year, because I had to sort of go back and see what tracks we'd been to. I've had the flu for like nearly the last week, so I haven't been feeling very well at all, and my head's still a bit foggy. So yeah, I had to go back and see what tracks we actually raced at before. So yeah, well, but next season, I don't even know what tracks they are. Yeah, there's a couple of tracks that I haven't raced at yet on iRacing, like that I don't even own, but most of the tracks there I like. Yeah, not too bad.
Not too bad. Well, I tell you what, Michael Jordan's got nothing on Wayne Walker's flu race here out there. 6 races, well, 6 wins, 4 seconds. He's done absolutely everything he's needed to. Wayne, go celebrate with a nice bottle of Sudafed, I think is the best way to go about it. Great job. Great job today. Wayne Walker, your winner out there overall. But for winners, there are losers. And unfortunately, the other side of the paddock, it's a victory only in the sense of the race today for Jordan Ross. He stood by with David Haynes.
Well, what a race, Jordan. 300Ks is gonna take it out of you, but especially with all of the games and the strategy and everything that you have to play.
Yeah, it was a bit of a fun little race tonight. 300Ks is a bit long, pretty worn out, but yeah, it was a little bit interesting there with that safety car, and we all had to save a rack of fuel to get home. usually pretty crappy at fuel saving, so I was pretty giving myself a pat on the back for getting home with that one. So yeah, but mate, massive congrats to Wayne. He did a really great job all season, and can't wait till next season and we'll go at it again. But yeah, massive congrats to him. He was the class of the field all season.
It's a great championship, super exciting. Is it sort of that safety car was in this sort of weird halfway house zone one lap earlier, and you guys might not have done what you did one lap later, and you wouldn't have had to save near as much?
Yeah, they always find a way of just, hitting at the right time to make you double think your decision. Wayne dropped off me quite a bit at the safety car restart, and I wasn't sure if I was saving enough. I was saving, but he was dropped back maybe 2 or 3 seconds or something, and I wasn't sure if I was saving enough. So I think I saved a hell of a lot in that sort of middle part of that last stint, and then pretty much, from lap 10, I was sort of almost good to get home full steam. I was able to do a couple of laps at flat out, and then I had to sort of save a little bit on the following lap. But probably with 3 or 4 to go, I was sweet. So just drove it home at normal pace, which was good. But pretty interesting. So prefer not to do those. It would have been probably just as interesting, like personally, between myself and Wayne. I was enjoying sort of in that after the first pit stop, sort of driving up to the back of him, and we would have had a good little race there. So, but yeah, good night.
And the good news is there's always next season. It's never too far away. You've bagged a couple of race wins. You've been incredibly competitive tonight, and best of luck to you going forward in SimRigs V8 Vets.
Thanks, guys, and thanks for another season. All you guys and the admin team and the Series V8 Vets, everyone there putting it on. Enjoy it, and see you next season.
I'll see you next season, but I'll see you next year too. Thanks, Jordan.
Cheers.
Well, days like these come once in a blue moon, but Dan Hall here with us. What a great day at the office this is. Started 4th, finished 3rd. Dan, I think you found a circuit you quite like.
Oh, I mean, there's a lot of Bathurst specialists here, aren't there? It is the best place in Australia to race. Could only dream of doing it in the real life, but in the sim, I'll take that any day.
And talk about how you had to go about that over the course of the race, because that safety car came out at, probably for everyone, a very awkward point in the race.
Yeah, definitely. I had run the numbers. Well, actually, Chad from our team had run the numbers, and we were talking about it. And I know just from experience, I've been fortunate enough to do quite a few enduros here, and most recently in the Logitech G Pro series, and knowing what a flat-out full tank would get you, about 27 laps. And then I figured, well, if we get a safety car, you can save a lot of fuel there, and then you could probably save about a lap at least, just doing some fuel saving. So yeah, as we restarted, I tucked in behind a couple of the guys there, and just had to be patient, and just kept reminding myself to trust the process. And Sean Vandermeulen catch me, and I just let him go down the straight. And then same with Borgie. I thought, well, I could see the last time Borgie had pitted, and I knew I had him at Vandermeulen. I thought this could be interesting, but obviously he wasn't able to save enough, and he jumped into the pits again. So yeah, it was just very much a matter of trust the process.
Process, trust, and critically for you, you were right down in the fuel save late there with Mark Poynton bearing down Fangs and Sean McNamara as well. At what point did you realise the numbers were good for you to find the level of pace that you did there?
About 5 laps out, I was feeling more comfortable. And then I had a pretty hairy moment coming down through the S's around then. So I thought to myself, well, don't get too cocky, too confident. Just eyes forward and not looking backwards. And then I noticed Macca coming up behind, and I thought, oh, he's going to be very racy on fresh tyres. So yeah, he was probably the one I was most worried about. But yeah, I felt pretty confident about 5 laps out.
The confidence is there, it peaks, and it peaks with a podium, and a great podium there for Dan Hall, who goes from 4th to 3rd today and gets his job done. David, we're going to have to sit down and say we need an M1 Used Cars driver of the day, and I'm looking around at Chris Burridge, and I don't think there are many candidates better.
I'd pay that from 18th on the grid to leading home a ferocious group. There was 4 or 5 of them, all on the same strategy, all fuel saving, all on top of each other, and he managed to bring it home in the 7th position there, and lucky to stay ahead of Logsdale and Borg as well. So supporting the Balin Stewart Foundation, our M1 Used Cars driver of the day for the final round of the championship is going to go to Chris Burridge.
Yeah, the 042 of M1 Racing, kind of prophetic actually, the way that you look around there. 042, you can see, had to kick a massive amount of tail, had to get the elbows out, had to do the dirty work to get himself to hold on to places, but he dug down deep. And that is one of those big day performances there, out there in terms of what he was capable of doing over the course of running. And that, a season here with the V8 Veterans Championship. There will be a small break before season 28 comes back in with, well, full gusto out there, or I should say right now season 29 should come back in with full gusto. Just getting a little bit of confirmation, 24th of September, that will be over to you. So you've got about a month to wait before we're back in with some truly amazing sim racing here from the V8 Vets. And that is going to be a treat to behold. What a day it has been here from the entire team. Dan Yeaman here, who's been on the production truck here for this one with David Haynes and myself, Jake Sperry, bringing you the action. There is your championship as it stands. Wayne Walker will lead Jordan Ross and Paul Young to the championship, with Mark pointing up to 4th and Kenneth Latter finishing in 5th ahead of Luke Allman and Justin McLean. Dean Logsdale 8th, Brian Borg 9th, and Michael Stewart gets a top 10 in the championship, and a thoroughly well-deserved one at that as well. It's Wayne's world out there once again. Some would say that we're just living in it, and he just keeps finding pace. He keeps finding ways to win, and he keeps putting the pressure on those around him with his performance here. With the help, of course, of SimRigs, Logitech G, Nova SimSport, Parramatta Isuzu Ute, Project Fate Streetwear, M1 Used Cars, and LGC Images. The Mountain does it every time. Jordan Ross finding his way with a perfect end to his season with 2 wins out of the last 2. But ultimately, Wayne Walker built the margin, built the process, and said, you can't beat me if I'm going to be in your shadow. Wayne again. Can it be a case of a 4th straight title? Find out next season with SimSpeed TV, and we'll see you very soon.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.